Okay, it looks like we are live. And guys, I am going to be very excited to bring y'all this. We are going to be going through, sending out these notifications right now to let everybody come out here and know that we are live. That way we can get as many people in the chat as possible. But anyway, I guess we can switch this over so I can get a quick introduction here. This is going to be a real money Dynasty startup draft. Now, let me pull up the live chat real quick just to make sure that we can go through and see if the mic is okay. Make sure that we don't have any problems before we start the draft. But let's see if we have anything. No, I think that we should be good. Please let me know in the general chat, guys, if we have a problem. I sent out those notifications. I made sure everything was set up on YouTube. Okay, so let me dive into this. So I have not been able to check out all of these unbelievable trades that have actually already happened in this league. I mean, I made a trade to move our position around a little bit in the startup draft, but this has been one of the most active Flock Patreon leagues we have ever had before the startup draft. I mean, you pull up this draft board real quick and you are about to see it. And essentially, nobody owns the picks that they started with. Everybody moved around. So thank you guys for all being such great league mates. Thank you for being so active, because obviously that's what makes a Flock Patreon Dynasty League so special. That's what makes a Flock Patreon Dynasty League so fun. But yeah, other announcements I think we may have is yesterday we actually had the Flock Dynasty meetup, and it was fantastic. I want to give a massive thank you to everybody who came out. I had a great time meeting y'all. I put it out on Instagram. I put it out on Twitter. I put it out on Discord. But I wish we also had our frame poster that JN decided to give us out there, which is, of course, very nice for the new studio. It's hanging up in my room right now, though, so I can't go take it off the wall. I showed it in the video on the main fantasy football channel. But yeah, again, thank you so much for everybody who came out to that meetup. That was very special, and I promise you, it pretty much made my year. There's no better way to end my stay in Austin other than that Flock meetup. But anyway, let's pull up this draft board right now. And before I show y'all exactly what's going on with the picks, let me make sure one more time that we don't have anything going on with the trades I need to confirm. Okay, we need to process another trade. Another trade just went through. I mean, this is wild. So let's go through and let's look at Yield Fates right here. I mean, this is someone that does not have a single one of his first 6 picks, but he has 2 picks in the first, 2 picks in the second, a pick in the 5th, and oh my God. Okay, so he was active before the startup draft. Like I said, guys, yesterday we were going through and we did the Flock meetup, so I wasn't necessarily able to check out all of these in depth. But also, it looks like we are live right now. We are getting this draft underway. So a couple notable things. This is going to be a super flex best ball dynasty startup. Now, this is a real money league. All of our real money dynasty startups, which will have a lot more this offseason, are hosted through Patreon, but I'm sure everybody watching this already knows that by now. But Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, looks like we have a quarterback run going off to start the draft. Now, let me throw my phone over there because I do not need to keep on getting these sleeper notifications. But okay, yeah, please let me know what y'all think of all these crazy trades. I didn't necessarily make that many crazy trades. I mean, I think we are one of the least active people in the days leading up. But like I said, we just had so much work going on over there with what we are doing with that Flock meetup, where I wasn't necessarily to be as active as I usually am in these leagues. I also see that we already have 23 likes in the live stream. Thank you so much, guys, for everybody who's decided to go down there and drop a like. Obviously, that's massive. But you have the first running back going off the board here with Christian McCaffrey at the 104. So that is notable. I'm not going to be giving a lot of my own opinions about these picks until we get about halfway through the startup draft, because I don't necessarily want to give away all my strategy. I'll say the one trade that we made was a very simple one, where at the 108, I knew there wasn't going to be a player that I'm dying to draft. I'm not jumping up and down to really get anybody in that range. Really, all these picks in this range are about the same for me. So we took that 108, we just traded back to the 110, and then we traded up a little bit in 2 spots afterwards, which I know probably is a little bit less than market value, but I wasn't necessarily trying to get as much value as possible. Someone sent me that trade. I thought it was fair enough to just go through and do, so we did it, and I'm happy with how it looks so far. Okay, so Ben says screen is black. Anyone else actually seeing stuff? Okay, hopefully we don't have a problem like that for other people. But man, yeah, just please try restarting your phone. Try to do something like that. Okay, Yield Fate's up with his first pick. Like I said, guys, I mean, this is someone that was very, very, very active. I'm going to be interested to see where he decides to go. So we have 4 of the first 5 picks being quarterback for this league. Like I said, this is a super flex format, and I did make this actually a minute and a half timer. Hopefully people don't use that entire time. Hopefully people only use about 30 to 40 seconds. That way we can get as many picks during this live stream as possible. But it's going to be interesting to see what Yield Fates does, because he kind of was crazy with this start. So it looks like you got that heavy quarterback run. Okay, Dak Prescott going. Okay, so if you go across positions right now, best QBs available are Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, and Tua. The running backs, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb. Wide receivers, you got Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams. Tight ends, this is a tight end premium format. I do need to point that out for everybody. And at tight end, you have Kelsey, Kittle, Pitts, Waller. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'll also say maybe we decide to go Kyle Pitts in this league. Obviously not with our first or second round pick, but when we get to the 310, it's going to be interesting. After I talked so much crap about Kyle Pitts before the Julio Jones trade, if we actually end up getting a share of him, because we do not have Kyle Pitts in a single Dynasty league so far. Okay, so Barkley goes as well. So now we are up with the 10th pick overall. So if we go through the positions right now, at running back, best available, you have Cook, Kamara, Henry, Chubb, Akers, Swift, Harris. Wide receiver, you have Hill, Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Metcalf, Devontae Adams. Tight end, you have Kelsey, Kittle, Pitts. So I think it's close, but given what I'm going to be looking at in the second round, I think what we actually look to do here is I think we go QB. I think we take Trevor Lawrence. I believe we have not drafted Trevor Lawrence in a single startup so far this offseason. So let's take Trevor Lawrence. Let's get our first share here. And then we're going to be back up on the clock at the 205. And I'm completely fine with that trade back where we move back from the 108 to the 110. Because to be completely honest, maybe I would have looked at Trevor Lawrence over a Jonathan Taylor or over a Saquon Barkley regardless. So yeah, I'm happy with that Trevor Lawrence pick at the 110. Okay. Also, we just passed 30 likes in the live stream. Thank you, everybody, so much for going down there and dropping that like. Obviously, that helps us out a ton. Now, Honey Sriracha coming through. And actually, Honey Sriracha doesn't have really any picks in this range. Okay, so they go back to back to back in the middle of the second round. They have a third. They have a fourth. So in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds, they have 5 picks. They have an extra in the 9th. Okay, so that isn't, it's going to be interesting. I mean, like I said, guys, there were some wild trades before this startup got going. Let me just click on everybody's name to see what we are looking at. Oh my gosh, Blake killed this. How did Blake end up with an extra third, 2 extra fourths, an extra 6th? Okay, Blake, I have no idea what deals he made, but that was fantastic there. I mean, congrats on making those trades. Okay, roster baiter, blah, blah, blah. Also, a pretty nice start. Dietz gets an extra first and a 6th by trading away his 2nd and a 4th, it looks like. Jack ends up having a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, no 4th. He has 3 5ths. These are some interesting starts. Okay. I think that you're not going to find another real Dynasty startup like this at all. I don't care where you're looking at on YouTube. This is pretty much only going to be what you're finding in these Flock Patreon startups. Okay. So now let's go through, and Superior in the chat says PPR keeper, Myles Gaskin in the 20th or Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 3rd. Man, if you're talking about a keeper league with keeper prices, you definitely need to know how many players are being kept, because if there are 5 players being kept, obviously that 3rd round pick isn't necessarily that exciting, but if it's only 1 player being kept, then all of a sudden that 3rd round pick is significant. So please let me know. I would definitely be leaning with Clyde Edwards-Helaire without any context though. Okay, so after we take Trevor Lawrence, you have 2 running backs going off the board in Dalvin Cook and Cam Akers, 2 quarterbacks in Joe Burrow and Russell Wilson. Okay, so at the 205, it's nice when you take Trevor Lawrence because you're not necessarily locked into having to be competitive right away, but you're also not in a situation where you feel the need to be a complete rebuilder, because we know that Trevor Lawrence is going to be starting all 16 games. We know Trevor Lawrence should be someone that is also putting up production as early as week 1. So yeah, I'm fine with that. So we have that flexibility. Now, if we go through best available quarterback, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson. Trey Lance goes right before us. Trey Lance probably would have been our pick, to be completely honest. And I know a lot of people are going to think that's crazy. But here, I'm looking at 2 guys, essentially. And I know a lot of people would be screaming at me to possibly take the first wide receiver off the board. But given the depth that we are going to have later on, I'm essentially looking between George Kittle and Najee Harris here. Now, Najee Harris is a player I've definitely had to move up recently in Dynasty, given the fact that this is a rookie that's now going at the back half of the first round in high-stakes redraft leagues. So if you understand that projection for this upcoming season and you understand how that's going to impact his actual Dynasty value 12 months from now, I mean, Najee Harris is very appealing. I think we actually go Najee. I think we go Najee, and then we'll be back up at the 308. Possibly we have a player that we can get excited about in that range. And if we're stacking Najee and Trevor Lawrence, we're still maintaining that flexibility where we don't have to be a contending roster if we don't like the value later on in this draft. So we're going to be going Najee Harris here with the 205, and this is our start so far. Trevor Lawrence, Najee Harris, and then, yeah, it really no other moves that we made outside of moving up in both the 6th and 8th rounds, just slightly. But Najee Harris, I'm excited about that pick at the 205. I'm going to be completely honest. I almost considered taking him at the 110. Okay. So now let's go through and see if we have... Garrett says crazy draft board with all the trades. I know that this is ridiculous. I think this has been the most active Flock Patreon league this offseason. Okay, so now George Kittle goes directly after us. George Kittle was the player that we are considering with that last pick. I mean, now that you have 2 of the elite tight ends going off the board, so it's going to be interesting. Like I said, guys, I mean, you are playing in a league that is tight end premium here, so maybe you're moving those tight ends up in a range where you feel a little bit more comfortable taking them at the beginning of the 2nd round. So now it's going to be interesting to see where Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller go when you have both Travis Kelce and George Kittle already off the board. Okay, so you have Superior saying 2 keepers total, can only keep 1 at each position. I'm for sure keeping either A.J. Brown or Ridley in the 6th. Still waiting on Ridley and how his foot is. Okay, I think that's a completely fair assessment. So if you're keeping 2 players, so if you're looking at a 3rd round pick, just say essentially that's going to be a 5th round pick in a redraft league. I still think I go Clyde Edwards-Helaire, to be completely honest. I mean, CEH is someone that is rising in drafts right now, especially those high-stakes drafts. He's pretty much a consensus late 2nd round pick. And you're also talking about a keeper format where potentially he really busts onto the scene this upcoming season, and all of a sudden he actually, I'm a little bit hesitant, but maybe would you be in a situation where if you keep Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year, does he cost a 1st round pick next year? How does your league actually adjust those keeper prices season to season? I'm so sorry for having a million questions here, but like I said, guys, I mean, when you're playing in a league, the number one thing to understand is how the league settings actually impact your decisions. So that's what I need to know. I need to know every little league detail that I can possibly have. Okay. But anyway, Honey Sriracha with back-to-back-to-back picks goes George Kittle, Alvin Kamara, and DeAndre Swift. So it is notable, guys, that we have yet to have a wide receiver go off the draft board. Antonio Gibson. Okay, so still no wide receiver. I mean, you've seen this in mock drafts before in this channel where you know that that wide receiver position is going to be a lot deeper than what you're finding at running back, what you're finding at quarterback, what you're finding at tight end, where those positions are going to dry up really quick. But you're not going to find that at wide receiver when you can be getting players like Mike Evans, Amari Cooper in the 6th round of a league like this. So it's completely understandable to see those running backs and quarterbacks going early. I mean, that's why we decided to go with Trevor Lawrence and Najee Harris in rounds 1 and 2. Okay, so now Honey Sriracha says he was trying to get that George Kittle and Trey Lance stack. Okay, so Honey Sriracha, I'm assuming wanted to go through and get Kittle and Lance right here in the middle of the 2nd round. That would have been really nice. I mean, that would have been nice value. I will say, man, if you wanted to get Trey Lance, you were always going to have to be trading before the 205. You would have had to get over me because you know if Trey Lance fell to me at the 205, that's a quarterback that I'm drafting. And I know a lot of people watching this draft, if they've had their own startup this offseason, they probably saw Trey Lance fall a lot farther than this. They probably saw Trey Lance fall to the middle of the 3rd round, but I think that is just complete blasphemy. I think that if you got a value like that on Trey Lance, you were just essentially robbing the place. So I think that the actual fair assessment, if you look at the floor and ceiling combination that he should have over the next 4 seasons, should be that early 2nd round pick. So yeah, Derrick Henry now goes off the board to Field Yates. Okay, so let's look at Field Yates so far, what he has taken. He's gone Lamar Jackson, Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce, and Derrick Henry. So it looks like he is really building a contending team. He is building a team to take down that number 1 spot in 2021. I'll say having both Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Travis Kelce all in the same team does scare me long term, but hell, if you're going to go and you're going to try to contend right away, might as well go all in. Okay. So Garrett asking, what's our price on Jordan Love in a Superflex league? We were actually talking about that a lot at the Flock Patreon meetup. I'm sorry, not the Flock Patreon meetup, just the Flock meetup that we had in Austin. And yeah, I think with Jordan Love, I mean, I'm simply not looking to sell at all until we have official news on Aaron Rodgers. I think if you have the Aaron Rodgers being moved to Denver, if Aaron Rodgers does decide to sit out the year and Jordan Love is named the starter, I would be looking to sell for a future first and second round pick in a Superflex league. And I am holding Jordan Love everywhere. Maybe you're not going to be able to get that, but like I said, you only need one owner to go through and be willing to make that trade. So I think if you could sell Jordan Love for a first and a second round pick, if you do have an Aaron Rodgers trade, that is something I'd be happy with. Okay, so our first wide receiver in Justin Jefferson does go at the very end of the second round. You also have Justin Fields going at the 211, which is interesting. Now, Blake, I mean, I am just so jealous of Blake's draft pick situation right now. I mean, he's going to go back-to-back here. He's going to have 3 picks in the 4th. I mean, Blake obviously killed the drafts. I mean, killed the trades before this draft kicked off. Okay, so Broncos fan coming in says, Superflex Dynasty question. I have Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. Should I trade to get a top-ish running back one? Yes, I mean, obviously, if you are that stacked at quarterback, I mean, you're not necessarily helping your team at all by having those top 4 to 5 options. I know a lot of people do want to come out and they want to talk about how you need to have 4 starting quarterbacks in Superflex. I mean, if you really know how you're chasing upside, you simply can't be investing that much into a single position, regardless of what you're finding with the league format, because you're not going to have really any production in the starting lineup elsewhere. So yeah, I would definitely look to trade for a top-end running back. But this running back run continues. You have Chubb, Zeke, and Travis Etienne all going here. Now, I'll say I really don't like any of these picks, to be completely honest, because there are a few players on the board that I'd be a little bit more interested in. Not going to say their names out loud just because I want to be able to get them at the 308. But yeah, let's kind of keep our mouth shut for now and see what falls to us. Okay, so Kyle Pitts does go off the board there at the 304. Now, with our 308 pick, I think we're not going to give a super long explanation on what we're thinking here because we're going to be picking back up at the 405. And like I said, guys, this is a real money Flock Patreon Dynasty League. I mean, I can't be just coming out here and for the purpose of the live stream, just telling all of my thoughts because some people in this draft are probably listening to me and I really don't want to be getting sniped. We are really able to talk about our decision at the 205 between George Kittle and Najee Harris because I knew George Kittle wasn't coming back to us at the 308, but I really don't want to be talking about our decision point here at the 308 if we can help it. Okay. So Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown going off the board. So we do have some more wide receivers. Now at the 308, there's one player. Actually, there are about 2 guys I'm looking at. One guy I'm praying falls to us. Where's Honey Sriracha gone so far, and when's the next time he's picking? Has he gone QB yet? Okay, so it looks like he has yet to take a quarterback. What quarterbacks are still available? You have Hurts, Rodgers, Watson, Tua, Matthew Stafford, Zach Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill. Not sure if he's going to be going to QB there. Not sure he's going to go. I really have no idea what to expect. I mean, he did take 2 running backs and a tight end to start his draft, but I don't want to be speculating too much on what to be expecting with this next pick. Okay, MP6 coming out says, greetings from Germany. I enjoy watching this draft. Good luck to all. Man, thank you so much for coming out to the live chat. What time is it in Germany right now? I would literally have no idea. Maybe we can guess that it's like 10 or 11, but I mean, all I know it could be 3 a.m. I have no idea. Okay, is Honey Sriracha? Yeah, Honey Sriracha's in the draft. He has that little green dot. Okay, let's see. It's going down to the wire. Let's see where he decides to go. Okay, he takes J.K. Dobbins. Okay, so this is going to leave us with, honestly, a quite easy decision. I think that after you had these running backs going off the board up here, my favorite player still available is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, maybe we weren't necessarily tuned in yesterday because we were at that meetup. Maybe something happened where Clyde Edwards-Helaire tore an ACL or something, but no, he did not. I think getting CEH here at the 308, I'm going to be extremely excited about that because what that does is it takes another player that should be producing right away, but he is young enough where we don't have to commit to a fully contending team. So we have Lawrence, Najee Harris, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. These are all players that should be producing day one. They're all players with long-term value. So we still have the flexibility where if we get in the 4th round, if we want to take a veteran that's going to be on the decline in value, but have that elite production, we can safely do so. Or if we want to go with another rookie type player, another younger guy that's going to have his value increase over the next few seasons, I mean, we have that flexibility. We're not locked in. I mean, like we were talking about with Yield Fates over here. I mean, once you take Lamar, Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce, Derrick Henry, you're essentially locked into being a contending team. But I really like like having that balance of production and youth right away. That way you do have the flexibility later on in the draft just to take value where value falls. Okay, Kevin coming out and says, happy Father's Day to any dads out there. Hashtag vlog up. Yes, sir. Happy Father's Day to everybody out here. I know that a lot of people watching this live stream are most likely dads, given the fact that pretty much everybody that watches this channel is in the age range of 25 to 50. So happy Father's Day, my dudes. I'll also say that the audience of this channel is 99.7% male. So surprisingly, I mean, you would think that there would just be a bunch of ladies over here drooling over me as we talk fantasy football, but that's not the case. It's a bunch of dads, so happy Father's Day, my dudes. Really hope y'all are having a great one. Okay, but DK Metcalf going right after us, after we take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I do like that DK Metcalf selection. Another player that does have that interesting balance of production right away, as long as long-term value. I mean, those are the players that I personally am looking to build around. And it looks like too much awesome. Maybe the one person that didn't make any trades leading up into this startup draft. But he has a hell of a start, a very balanced start in Saquon Barkley, Trey Lance, and DK Metcalf. Now, CeeDee Lamb goes directly after that at 310. That is a very interesting selection. Now, if we go across the board and talk about best player available, you got Jalen Hurts at QB, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Tua. At running back, you have Aaron Jones, Eckler, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. At wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Jamar Chase. Tight end, you have Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, and TJ Hawkinson. Okay, so now let's go through. JN says CEH is a great example of how rookie hype fades over a year. What's crazy with CEH and Najee Harris, honestly, is both of these players are going higher in redraft leagues than they are in Dynasty right now. And clearly, both of these guys are extremely young assets. So that's why I think they are great Dynasty, values. I mean, if the projection for them this upcoming season is at a higher price point than this, and you should be expecting that production to maintain for the next 3 to 4 years, I mean, I'm really excited about that. Jayan says, we had a dad at the meetup. Yes, sir. We had multiple dads at the Flock meetup yesterday. We did have one dad coming through and bringing his kid, which was obviously a treat for everyone. But anyway, Darren Waller goes off the board. Darren Waller would have been my pick most likely at the 405. Great pick there. Great value. I mean, a significant fall compared to a George Kittle, a Travis Kelce. I mean, I would easily rather have Darren Waller at the 312 compared to a Travis Kelce at the 203. Let me see JJ's start to this draft real quick. Let's find his name. Okay, so he's gone Akers, AJ Brown, Diggs, and Darren Waller. He's back up on the clock here. I think maybe you assume he's going to go quarterback since he does not have one, but he also has 2 fifth-round picks, so maybe he waits until the 5th to take a QB. Okay, Beach Ball says, are we getting a Flock meetup vlog? I am very sorry. I did not vlog it. I mean, there was just so much going on in that day that I wanted to make sure that everything ran smoothly. I really didn't want to have extra responsibility. My initial thought was I was going to make it a vlog, but I'm sorry, it did not end up happening. We do have pictures that I put on Instagram, Twitter, Discord. I don't think I uploaded one on Patreon, but I'm sure that nobody's cared about it over there on Patreon if you can see it everywhere else. Okay, Jay Wash saying, can you show the Dak Prescott team? I really like that start. Yes, sir. So Dak, Russell Wilson, Aaron Jones, and then it's going to be interesting to see where you go here. Okay, so I don't know how you say you like that start if you've only 3 picks in, but Calvin Ridley. So it looks like this is also going to be another contending team right away. I mean, I think when you take Aaron Jones, that's a piece that doesn't necessarily have that long-term value. You can say the same thing with the Calvin Ridley there. But too much odds. I have a feeling that this man's going to be a pain in the ass this entire draft because he's gone pretty much where I would have gone with the past 3 picks. So hopefully he decides to start straying from what we usually do. But, I mean, he has been just killing us time and time again through this draft so far. Okay, I think we are going to make a pick that most people don't like, and I'm going to look like such a hypocrite if we make it. So hopefully I don't have to. Okay, and also I can actually I don't know if I want to be giving my thoughts too early on here, just because I want to make sure that we have our strategy maintained. I don't want to have to deviate if we kind of let it leak and people try to make life a little bit harder for us. So our start is Trevor Lawrence, Najee Harris, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So we do have that extremely young build up to date. Okay, Ants Game says, full point PPR, Superflex, Javonte Williams, a future first, Jordan Love, Amari Rodgers, for Calvin Ridley, and a future second. Okay, so if you essentially look at this as Javonte Williams is worth a first and a second round pick himself, and a second round pick and Jordan Love together are worth an additional first. I mean, you're trading essentially 3 firsts for Calvin Ridley. I think in a Superflex league, I would rather have the package side. Okay, but Jamar Chase goes at the 404. Jamar Chase, a player that I thought we were going to be having to take at the 405 given our young build. But now we have a little bit of flexibility to go through. And the thing is, okay, let's see Blake. Let's see where Blake would go. He's taken 2 quarterbacks so far. Roster Bader has yet to take a QB. I'm sorry. I probably should have been looking at the draft board before we started looking at the general chat. If we were talking wide receiver here, I think we would be going with DeAndre Hopkins. But the thing with Hopkins already being 29, I really don't like pairing him with these other young assets we have because I want to maintain that flexibility that we could have through the draft. Okay, so this is a 4-point passing touchdown league, so that does bump up the rushing quarterbacks for me. This is definitely a close call here. I think what we do is we just take Deshaun Watson, betting that the NFL is going to be trying to get a player that's going to make them so much money on the field this upcoming season. And also, we know that even if Deshaun Watson misses this year, he's still going to be a very valuable asset given what you're going to be finding in 2022. And the best thing that I can always say whenever someone drafts Deshaun Watson is trying to evaluate Deshaun Watson as just say he's going to miss this entire upcoming season. Just say a player that was going right next to him in startup drafts before this in Josh Allen. They were going right next to each other. What happened if Josh Allen went on a ski accident, broke his leg, and we knew that he wasn't going to play football for the next 12 months? He would most likely fall to be a late second, early third round pick. So I think getting Deshaun Watson here in the 4th, I'm going to be very happy about that value. And this is our start so far. This is a super flex best ball league. You have Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So yeah, I mean, this is what we like to do. We like to get those quarterbacks. We like to get those running backs early and then soak up the wide receiver value afterwards. Okay. Jerry says, Mason, would you trade away Waller and 2 high future seconds for Travis Kelce? This is for a win now purpose and a 1-quarterback dynasty. No, I simply would rather have those rookie picks to try to make different moves and pivot over to get wide receiver upgrades or running back upgrades. I don't necessarily see a massive gap, especially in dynasty, between Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. Now, TJ Hawkinson at the 407, so you do still have those tight ends going off the board. I'd imagine that Mark Andrews is really the only guy that you're going to find next. But yeah, hey, maybe I'm wrong. And also, guys, please, if y'all can, go down there, drop a like on the live stream. Literally, nobody else does this. I am the only person putting up my own money, playing with listeners every single week. I host, this is the Flock 15. We have 15 Flock Patreon leagues. I live stream every single draft. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is even thinking about doing this because it's extremely hard to draft, construct a solid roster, check the chat, live stream all at the same time, and make sure you don't look like a fool. And I think that we come out and we consistently crush every single startup besides the auction. The auction was just too hectic for us. So please go down there. Nobody else is doing this. Drop that like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And of course, if you want to get in our next Dynasty startup, support the show over there on Patreon. We are about to have a $500 league kicking off when we hit 400 Patreon supporters. That's going to be later this week. And what's going to happen is I'm also going to be taking one of those $500 buy-in spots. I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and I'm going to give it to a Flock supporter over there on Patreon, and I'm going to buy your dues for the league. I'm going to pay for them so you get essentially a free $500 shot to take home a $6,000 pot. Okay, so now Jalen Hurts does go after us at the 408. Jalen Hurts would have been a player that I would have been considering over a Deshaun Watson. If we had a contending team, I think we would have gone with Jalen Hurts, but no, we ended up going with Deshaun Watson instead. Okay, so now let's go through and see if we have any players that we're going to be looking at with this next pick. Okay. God, this is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. What sucks about taking Deshaun Watson as well is the stacks aren't necessarily clear later in the draft. But let me point out why I really hate this Derrick Henry pick in the 2nd and then Ezekiel Elliott pick at the 302, because both of those players are win now assets. Both of those guys you have for the next season, possibly 2 seasons. And if they're going at the late 2nd, early 3rd, I would definitely prefer just fading them at that price when you have a running back like Austin Eckler, who's going right next to Ezekiel Elliott in redraft leagues this upcoming year, going a full round after. I'm sorry, pretty much a full 2 rounds after. So yeah, I think I would rather just wait, and instead of taking an Ezekiel Elliott at the 302, possibly take a player like a Kyle Pitts, a Tyreek Hill, and A.J. Brown, and then go through and instead get an Austin Eckler at the 411. Yield Faith says, I want a $500 buy-in spot. Yeah, so over there on Patreon, we're actually going to be doing it how I'm going to be making a post, and I'm going to be saying, hey, if you're available at this time for the draft and you want to be entered into that $500 giveaway, comment on this post, and I'm going to be going through and putting everyone's names in pretty much an online bucket, and I'll live stream how we draw the spots for that $500 giveaway, and I'll also be drawing the spots for the other 10 spots because the entire league is going to be filled with Patreon supporters over there. So yeah, we're going to do that drawing live, just so y'all know there's no funny business, because me paying $500 of my own money is a pretty damn big deal, so I don't want anybody thinking that I'm doing anything shady. So we're just going to load it up on a randomizer. We're going to go through and live stream that so everybody sees it with complete transparency. Okay, so Ryan is in the chat saying, roster baiter, you are the worst. So I'm assuming he went through and got some snipes out of the way. Okay, so let's see where he decided to go. Let's pull up roster baiter. I don't know where that name is. Okay, so he took Gibson in the second, Pitts in the third, DJ Moore in the fourth, and Javonte Williams in the fourth as well. So it is notable that he has yet to go QB. It's going to be interesting to see where the quarterbacks go beyond this. I mean, you do still have some very intriguing options in Rodgers, Stafford, Zach Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if any of those guys last until you get to the 607. I mean, possible. It's definitely possible. I've seen it happen multiple times before. Yeah, Ryan saying it definitely roster baiter is out here sniping people. Okay, guys, get us over that 100 like mark. Come on, we are 25 likes away. Go down there, drop a like on the live stream. It definitely helps us out a ton. Okay, so Michael Thomas going at the 501. Best available QB, Rodgers, Stafford, Zach Wilson, Baker Mayfield. Running back, Eckler, Jacobs, Sanders, Montgomery, Carson. Wide receiver, Mclaren, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, Amari. Tight end, Mark Andrews, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert. Okay, so Michael Thomas at the 501. Let's see where BKW decides to go. He goes Terry McLaurin. I actually like that value of Terry McLaurin in Dynasty. I mean, in a redraft league, 100 times out of 100, I'd be taking Michael Thomas and Keenan Allen over Terry McLaurin. It's kind of crazy that McLaurin is going over those players for 2021 production, but McLaurin's going in tier 3. Those other players are veterans that aren't necessarily increasing their value anytime soon. So in a Dynasty format, I do like that value. But anyway, BK34 here has Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Terry McLaurin as a start for his first 3 players. I'll say that, I mean, that's risky. You're putting a lot of eggs in those QB baskets with Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. But it is interesting. Now you don't really have to worry about drafting a quarterback for a while. Maybe you take one, try to play the trade market. Maybe you take one using the fact that it's best ball and you just have locked and loaded top 5 quarterback production each and every week for your number 1 and super flex spot. But like I said, I mean, you can really go anywhere after this start. Okay, so let's go through. IO Life says roster baiter is gambling on Baker Mayfield and Tanny sliding back in the draft. Risky move. I mean, it's definitely possible. I've seen Ryan Tannehill, and Baker Mayfield's almost always available at the 607. I mean, it's definitely possible. Okay, Broncos fan says, if you had Hurts, Lance, and Jimmy in a 14-team Superflex league, would you be worried or happy about your quarterback situation? In a 14-team Superflex league, I'd be happy about it. We have to understand in a 14-team league, I mean, you are finding it where not as many teams are going to be as strong at quarterback. If you have 2 starters, I think you should be happy, and that's what you have locked and loaded. So yeah, I'm completely fine with that. So Jerry Judy going at the 503. Jerry Judy, someone that I still think is a little bit overvalued in Dynasty. I mean, you go through and you look at the fact in high-stakes redraft leagues right now, this is a wide receiver that's going after a rookie in Devonta Smith. And I know that the talent is there, but the situation is absolutely disgusting right now in Denver. Possibly Cortland Sutton leaves next offseason, which would definitely open up that target share for Jerry Judy to jump up into an elite range. But Austin Eckler finally going at the 504. I mean, getting Eckler at the 504 is a massive value compared to these other veteran running backs. I mean, I would prefer Eckler over Nick Chubb for this upcoming season, and you're getting Austin Eckler over 2 rounds after these other players in Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, and Nick Chubb. I mean, great pick there. Now you have Allen Robinson at the 505. So Jack going to be up on the clock here. Who has Jack decided to go with? Okay, so he has yet to take a QB, and he decides to pass on quarterback yet again. That is extremely ballsy. I think I would have locked and loaded either Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, or Zach Wilson. I mean, Ryan Tannehill is still there as well. But hell, I mean, this is something we have seen work out for people in flock drafts before. It's not something I'm trying to criticize at all. I'm just pointing it out that it is interesting because I want to remind everyone this is a super flex league. Okay, so now Ryan, who paid up to move up and get Patrick Mahomes at the 101, is on the clock to take his 4th player right here. So he has the flexibility kind of going anywhere. Taylor, 2 elite young wide receivers, and Mahomes to start his draft. Okay, so let's see. He decides, actually, no. Okay, no, he took Brandon Ayuk, so we are on the clock. I am stupid. Okay, so let's go through, and I think we have, I don't want to say an easy decision here, but we do have a player standing out to us. Now, we have already taken 2 quarterbacks. I would be interested taking Ryan Tannehill here. But the problem is when you take Deshaun Watson in the 4th, you're essentially making that bet that Deshaun Watson does play this upcoming season. So taking Tannehill does raise our floor, but it lowers our ceiling. So I think we possibly get our first wide receiver of the draft. And I know in a redraft league, if we were talking 2021 production, Keenan Allen would be my guy here. I mean, you look at Keenan Allen's production over the past few years. You look at the fact that this upcoming situation in Los Angeles is most likely the best situation he has had so far throughout his entire NFL career. But Chris Godwin's 25. Chris Godwin, not going to be that much worse for 2021. And I know Brady's about to see the fall off anytime soon, but Godwin's playing under a franchise tag. Maybe he's on a different team. Maybe he's over there in Miami next season. So yeah, I think we take Chris Godwin here, continuing to load up on players that are going to be productive this upcoming season and have that long-term job security, have that long-term value as well. And we are going to be up a lot earlier than we usually would be, given the fact that we are sitting here at the 603 as well. So now Zach Wilson does go. I really like that pick of Zach Wilson, understanding that he has such a high floor for how many weeks you're going to be expecting him to start this upcoming, I'm sorry, not how many weeks you're going to be expecting him to start this upcoming year, but how many guaranteed years he has as the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. So I do like that pick, definitely. But this is our start so far. We have Lawrence, Watson at QB, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, and Chris Godwin at wide receiver. I think this is an extremely high upside start. Now, Yield Fade's continuing to go. Win now. Takes Aaron Rodgers, the player falling, given the situation that you're finding. But hell, I mean, if he gets traded to Denver, it's a way better situation than what you're finding in Green Bay at the moment. So that is interesting. Now, quarterbacks are starting to dry up. You got Stafford, Tannehill, mainly as the last 2 guys. I'm not necessarily putting Baker Mayfield in that same tier, but not necessarily a ton of value across the board right now. So, I mean, you could look at wide receiver. You could look at the few running backs left in Jacobs, Montgomery, Chris Carson. I mean, James Robinson, y'all know, is someone I hate. Mark Andrews, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, the tight ends. So really, you can go anywhere here. We are going to be up in 4 or 5 picks. So Ryan Tannehill goes at the 5'11". So you have a little bit of a quarterback run going here. Okay, so now let's... Okay, so 5'12", you have Amari Cooper. I do like that Amari Cooper pick as well. I mean, I really like what we've seen over the past round. I think the only quote-unquote reach that I see is a Jerry Judy at the 503. I really don't like the Jerry Judy selection, but we've already talked about that in depth. Outside of that, I really like where everyone's going. Okay, so now Dietz is up here on the clock. Dietz, man, thank you so much for all your support that you have shown over there on Patreon, man. I really do appreciate it. Now here, Herbert, Burrow, Tyreek, and Allen Robinson all to start the draft. So maybe he decides to go running back here. Maybe he decides to go David Montgomery, but he has a long time in the clock. And also, guys, I will say that I can kind of talk about this as they are live on the clock, and it's not necessarily like they can hear me live because I am on about a 40-second delay right now. So if we talk about where we think someone's going to be going when they have 40 seconds left on their clock, I mean, the live stream isn't even showing what I said until after they've already made their selection. So that's why I kind of feel like I have the liberty to go through and talk like that. I mean, if it was completely live, if we didn't have that delay, then I definitely wouldn't be speaking like this. But Devonta Smith at the 601. Devonta Smith, that's a little earlier than we have seen him go in other startup drafts. I'm not saying I don't like it, though. I mean, I think that's completely fine. I will say we most likely would have gone with Tannehill at the 603 if he fell to us. Never mind. I probably shouldn't have said that. Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Chase Claypool. Got our man Juju. Got Juju. Okay. So we're in an interesting spot at the 603. Okay, so Yield Fate says Smith, either a reach or a steal. Yeah, I don't even want to speak too much on Devonta Smith here because obviously it's such a polarizing prospect where Devonta Smith has his massive fans based on him having historic production, which we know is the #1 factor of trying to find those players correlating their college success to NFL success, but also the weight is a massive concern. Okay, so we would have been going Matthew Stafford at the 603 if Matthew Stafford fell to us. Now, I think we look to end up going wide receiver. I mean, running back could be in play here with either a Jacobs, Montgomery, or a Chris Carson, but we really don't have to force the issue when we've already taken both Najee Harris and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't necessarily feel compelled to go that route. Now, I will say Mike Evans, 27, Keenan Allen, 29. This is another interesting spot. T. Higgins is a player that I really do like with his current value right now. And guys, the reason I'm feeling free to talk about this because I know none of these players are going to be available when we get back up on the clock at the 7:08. So essentially, it's probably going to come down to, I guess we could go Mark Andrews as well, given the fact that this is a tight end premium format. Mark Andrews was going in the 3rd round, almost consensus in a league format like this last year. With that historical research that we've done, I think we would rather just stick it with wide receiver. I think what we do is we make the bet that T. Higgins was a good enough prospect. He was a good enough player coming in that T. Higgins is our... Actually, no. When we have Chris Godwin, I actually like making the bet on Mike Evans because when you draft Mike Evans here at the 603, not only are you getting that correlation, kind of betting on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense this upcoming season, but also the draft pick with Chris Godwin was almost a pick going, hopefully he does go to a different situation next offseason. And next offseason, if you do have Chris Godwin going to a Miami, all of a sudden, Mike Evans is the alpha wide receiver in Tampa, Chris Godwin an alpha wide receiver in Miami, and you have them as 2 wide receiver ones in fantasy. So maybe that's a little bit of a galaxy brain. Maybe I'm just overthinking that one. But yeah, we're going to be going Mike Evans there. It would have definitely been between Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, and T. Higgins. Keenan Allen 29 compared to Mike Evans being 27. So that does make a difference between us though. Okay. So Mikey says, we the North, cheers from Canada. This is a sick league. Man, thank you so much for coming out, checking out the show from Canada. And surprisingly, we have a ton of Canadian flock members. I mean, over there on Patreon, obviously I can see where people are based, just based on their pledge and based on the currency that they have. And we have a ton of Canadian dollars coming over from there. So yeah, thank you everybody supporting the show from Canada. Okay, so Cortland Sutton going off the board now. And also, guys, I really want to make sure everybody knows this that's watching this as a video later on or in the live stream right now. Please feel free to go down to the comment section. Tell me everything that you think I did wrong. Tell me why you think I was wrong and what I could have done to improve. Because obviously, I am wrong all the time, and I really like to hear your opinion when you have an explanation behind them. When you just say, Mason, Deshaun Watson in the 4th was horrible, then yeah, that's not going to give me much. But if you have an explanation behind it and we can actually engage in some conversation, that's where I do like having those comments. Okay, so Ryan up. Ryan is having back-to-back picks up here. So let's see where he has decided to go. Okay, so he has Mahomes, Taylor, Lamb, and Ayuk. So really he has the flexibility. He can do what he wants. I mean, he can go running back, he can go tight end, he can go quarterback. I mean, pretty much anything would be a fine option. It's not like he has a glaring hole anywhere. And then after Ryan, you have Roster Bader. Okay, so he does decide to go Keenan Allen, a player that I'm very confident for his upcoming season production. But Roster Bader, let's see where he's most likely going to go. So it looks like he's most likely going to be in a situation where he probably wants to go QB. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I mean, JN is someone that in the mock drafts consistently can go through and wait until you get to the 8th, 9th round and get some value with the Jameis Winston, a Mack Jones, a Daniel Jones. Maybe you like that strategy in a best ball league. So I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer here, but it is interesting to see how different people attack it. Okay, Joe Johnson says, at what point do you grab a quarterback too when there's still great value left on the board in other positions? It's going to be entirely up to your league format. I mean, it's going to be up to the fact that if you're a super flex, I mean, obviously this is a super flex question, but if you're a 10-team, 12-team, 14-team league, makes a massive difference. How many flex spots you also have in the starting lineup with how many guys you can go plug in at wide receiver, running back, and tight end in the tight end premium format. So yeah, man, I'm sorry, but we need way more details on that question. Okay, Yield Faces, Chad Johnson mentioned he was about the same size as Smith when he played. Makes me more hopeful on Smith. Yeah, man, I haven't heard that at all. Thank you for coming through, and thank you for giving us that little piece of knowledge. Okay, so Ryan taking this down all the way to the bottom. I mean, let me make sure that there wasn't a trade that I needed to go through and process here that we could be missing out on. Okay, so hopefully... Okay, so there was a trade that was in the picks rounds 20 that we just had to process. Okay, but Baker Mayfield goes at the 606. So looks like that was honestly probably not even a auto. I definitely think that was a part of his queue, because if you were looking at the ADP, I mean, Baker Mayfield wasn't even near there. So it looks like that was a queue pick, not an auto. Okay, so roster baiter up here at the 607. And then you have Dietz afterwards. Dietz has gone 2 QBs and 3 wide receivers. So, I mean, if you're waiting on running back, this is probably the league to do it. I mean, you still have David Montgomery. You still have Josh Jacobs available on the board. Very rarely are you finding both of those running backs in the 6th round. Okay, so let's go. When is our next pick? We are picking again at the 708. Okay, so it looks like Mark Andrews finally goes off the board here. I believe roster baiter has taken 2 of the top tight ends in Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews. Definitely an interesting strategy, like we have said before, guys. This is a tight end premium format. So you're going to get 1.5 points per reception. So obviously those players can slide into your flex spots. So that is an interesting start there. Does he have? Yeah, he has a ton of later picks. I mean, that is obviously great in best ball, having those double stacks in the 7th, 8th, 10th, 11th, and 3 picks in the 13th. I mean, I really like that start. Okay, roster baiter was saying in the chat that he really did want Baker Mayfield. Okay, so now Dietz up here. Okay, TD in the chat says, do you think stacking Trey Lance with Kittle and Ayuk is too much? I already have Trey Lance and Kittle, but been looking at Ayuk. I will say that if you were talking about a quarterback like a Matthew Stafford, that you're essentially betting on the passing volume to be there for him to hit in fantasy, then I love going through with the double stack. I mean, with Matthew Stafford, I really like the idea of stacking him with both a combination Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, or Robert Woods and Tyler Higbee, but really getting 2 pieces of that passing offense. With the Trey Lance, it's going to be a whole lot less important, given the fact that with Trey Lance, one of the ways that he hits in fantasy is with his elite rushing upside. And if there's that elite rushing upside there, you're not necessarily expecting him to have the passing volume through the roof. So in that point, I'm a lot less excited to do a double stack with a rushing quarterback compared to a pocket passing quarterback. So yeah, with Trey Lance, I mean, maybe getting George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk is overkill. I think just having George Kittle should be enough. Alejandro coming out with a donation. Thank you so much, my man. Saying, Sup Mason, 12-team PPR best ball league, 0.5 tight end premium. Calvin Ridley equals DJ Moore plus X. Also, Rashad Bateman or Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman. Everyone drop some likes. Okay, guys, real quick, let me give a massive shout out to Alejandro. So y'all know we are moving to a new studio that we have, and he is actually making us a custom wood piece of art for the logo that's going to be up on the wall. I am very, very excited about that. He said he is about halfway through. Obviously, no rush over there because we're not moving to the new studio until, I believe, 3 or 4 weeks from now. But yeah, I'm very excited about that, my man. Thank you so much for doing that for the channel. Thank you for showing your support as well. And here I'll say, this is going to really come down to what you're finding with the overall starting lineup spots that you have for Rashad Bateman. Actually, no, I'm sorry. You said this is a best ball. So because this is a best ball format, I think you actually prefer having Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman over Rashad Bateman. If it was a regular league, I would definitely be telling you Bateman, but what you're getting with Mecole Hardman and the combination of Kadarius Toney is you have that upside to capture those spike weeks where, you know, with a Kadarius Toney or Mecole Hardman, given the fact that they are field stretching wide receivers with that elite speed, it's going to be very hard to know when you actually want to be starting them. But if they are both every down players for their respective NFL offenses, you can naturally assume that each of them are going to have a few spike weeks through the course of the season. And I think both of their spike weeks added up together is going to outproduce what Rashad Bateman provides for you on a dynasty team like that. So yes, I know that this doesn't necessarily apply to everybody because not everybody's playing in a dynasty best ball league, but there go with Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman. And then in the case of Calvin Ridley equals DJ Moore plus X, I mean, obviously it's going to be way too much to ask for a first round pick. And if this is that same tight end premium format, I think what you're actually looking for is you're looking for a future 2nd and a future third, understanding with those additional players coming in, you could potentially have access to those spike weeks because you had a Kadarius Toney going in the second round in this year's draft. There's always going to be a player like that, and in best ball, those players have value. So I would say in a best ball league, keep in mind this isn't for regular settings. There, we want to be going through and having DJ Moore, a second and a third for Calvin Ridley. Okay, but Jacobs finally goes off the board here at the 701. Very interesting to see the fall that far. Yield Face decides to catch the falling knife there. And now he does have Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs in his running back room. He has Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson, and Aaron Rodgers as well rounding out the team. So he's yet to take a wide receiver, which is intriguing. But Blake here, let's check out his team. He has 2 quarterbacks in Fields and Tua. His running back room is Zeke, Mixon, Travis Etienne. He has T.J. Hawkinson, and he just tripled up on wide receivers here. I mean, hell, that is a nice start for this given format. David Montgomery at the 704. Now, y'all know that I am not a fan of David Montgomery. I mean, I am one of the biggest David Montgomery haters that you were going to find, but great pick here. That's all I have to say. I mean, if David Montgomery fell to the 708, we would have possibly been considering taking him, which obviously would have been just disgusting. I would have probably thrown up a little bit on stream. But yeah, no, that is great value in the middle of the 7th round. Now, if we are pulling up the best player available from across the positions, there's a few quarterbacks that stand out to us, but the thing is we are going to have picks relatively early here. I guess we could go before roster baiter because we can naturally assume roster baiter is most likely going to be looking at taking a QB here. And if we like a guy that's available on the board, might as well go through and draft him 1 pick prior, and then we can get a wide receiver that we most likely like on the way back because he has 2 picks between us. So yeah, possibly we look to, and this is what's very important by paying attention to the draft board. And this is honestly why it's very hard for me to go through and stream and do this at the same time, is because you really want to see the team situations, especially at the end here where you're having to project how the picks are going to go. So say if we're talking our strategy out loud, say if there's a running back or a wide receiver that we view very similarly with what we have with a quarterback available, we can look at the teams behind us and try to predict where they're going to go. And roster baiter is someone that has 2 picks behind us, and he has yet to take a quarterback. Here, JJ is another one. He only has 1 quarterback. Honey Sriracha is another one with only 1 quarterback. So essentially, if we like a quarterback available on the board right now, we are going to be having to take him. And I think, okay, the question is, do we take Mack Jones? Because I think he would fit this roster nicely as a quarterback 3. I think the value is there in the 7th round. I think we get a wide receiver that we like on the way back in the 8th regardless. So Mack Jones, y'all know I'm not a massive fan of him due to the fact that he doesn't necessarily have that rushing upside. But going through and looking at how the draft is going to fall around here, I think Mack Jones is probably the play because I don't want to be the guy taking Carson Wentz. I don't want to be the guy taking Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones. So yeah, I think for our quarterback 3, we just lock in Mack Jones, but I could be overthinking this. Maybe the correct decision is to go with obviously not a James Robinson, maybe a Myles Gaskin or a Trey Sermon, or possibly to go with a wide receiver in Juju, DJ Chark, Robert Woods. But no, let's just take Mack Jones here. Okay, I hope that explanation made sense. Please let me know what y'all think about that in the chat, but I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at the fact that right here, roster baiter only has he has no quarterbacks, and he has 2 picks between we are up again. And then you also have JJ with 1 quarterback. You have Honey Sriracha with 1 quarterback as well, and he has 2 picks between we are up. So I think the chance of Mack Jones falling to us at the 803, very, very slim if you look how the draft board is shaking out. But those other wide receivers that we could be interested in, definitely have the potential to fall. Okay, so roster baiter in the chat right now telling us that he wanted Mack Jones. I'm sorry about that, my man. But yeah, we have to take that value where we know it's not going to be available for us with that next team. Okay, K-Nut saying the JJ team is scary. Let's pull up JJ's team. Okay, so he has, oh my God, this is a terrifying team. This is a very, very good roster. Akers and Eckler at running back, a wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Diggs, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Matthew Stafford at quarterback, Darren Waller. This is the best team in the league. This is a fantastic roster. Congrats on this start, my man. I would trade you your team for mine straight up. Now, I will say maybe it looks a little bit different when we get past here because you don't have that many picks upcoming, but goddamn, that is a sexy start to start it off. Now, Kirk Cousins does go after Mack Jones, so that definitely makes our draft pick of Mack Jones a little bit better, in my opinion. Okay, JN out here in the chat saying every piece of OTA news is fake except for Devin Duvernay. My man, I know you were going to say that. Also, we have Thomas Wade in the chat. Guys, if y'all been paying attention to the videos that we've been putting out on our main fantasy football channel and y'all realize that the production quality has gone up, that is because Thomas Wade in the chat right now has gone through and he has been editing those videos for us. So, man, thank you so much for all the help. Not only is it allowing me to focus more on actually recording the videos and doing the research behind them, but also it's allowing me to focus more on writing that Dynasty. I'm sorry, not that Dynasty, but the fantasy football draft guide for 2021. So, my man, thank you so much. I'm actually going to make you a moderator real quick because obviously trust you on that. And if we don't have anybody else in the chat that's a moderator, I would rather have you out here. So, yeah, thank you so much for all that help, my man. Guys, please spam the chat right now thanking Thomas because he's making my life a lot easier to continue to pump out videos every single day for y'all across multiple channels. Okay, so Nick is saying I should have taken Tom Brady. The problem with me taking Tom Brady on this roster is if I pull up my team again, we started extremely young. We started Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. So I think taking Tom Brady doesn't necessarily fit this roster like a Mack Jones does because with Tom Brady, I know people don't want to face this fact, but I would be very surprised if he is actually a starting quarterback for the next 2 to 3 seasons. I would expect that this upcoming year is the last year for Tom Brady, even though we've been saying that every single year over the past 5 years. But still, I mean, how much longer can he go? What is he, 42, 43 years old right now? Yeah, he's 43 years old. I mean, Tom Brady is 21 years in the NFL. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Okay. So let's go through and see if, okay, I see everybody in the chat spamming some love for Thomas. Thank you, my dudes, for doing that. Okay, so now let's go through. And Zach Montes says, don't mind the Jones pick, but now I really don't think the Evans pick fits here over Higgins when you picked Watson and Jones. Yes, sir. Definitely that is an argument to be made. Yeah, I mean, that is something that I want to point out. But like I said, I mean, we did go through, we got that correlation with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing game, and you can look at a situation where possibly next offseason, Chris Godwin, no longer playing under the franchise tag, decides to go to Miami, decides to go to Green Bay, decides to go really anywhere but Tampa, and all of a sudden, I think that would give a bump up to both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans at the same time. Okay, so Tyler Lockett going there at the end of the 7th. Okay, so we are going to be up in 2 picks. Michael Carter going at the 801. What other running backs are available right now? I really hate seeing Michael Carter go over Trey Sermon. I think Trey Sermon is a much better option over Michael Carter, to be completely honest. But the thing is, we really don't have to put the pressure on running back here, given the fact that we do have both Najee Harris and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I feel very comfortable going through and just kind of waiting it out and seeing value where we can find it. Okay, so Juju goes right before us. Y'all know Juju's my guy, but with this team, when we did go through and when we took Trevor Lawrence in the first, I think we have a very easy decision to be made here where we are going to be going with the Jacksonville wide receiver. I know a lot of people, because the reports that have been coming out of OTAs, are going to be screaming for me to go with Laviska Shenault. I know, I understand it, guys, and please keep in mind, when Laviska Shenault was going 5 rounds after DJ Chark at the beginning of this offseason, I came out and I said, hey guys, DJ Chark overvalued in Dynasty, Laviska Shenault undervalued. This is a wide receiver 1A and 1B situation. This isn't a clear drop between DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. I think they are right next to each other, and I know a lot of people are picking up on that now that we have nonstop reports coming out about Laviska. But we have seen the elite production back in 2019 from DJ Chark before. We want to get this correlation into our lineup. So we have a very, very easy pick here with DJ Chark at the 803. Okay, so okay, so I see some people in the league chat saying that they want to go through and trade up around this range. Guys, if y'all trade up, please let me know in the league chat because I'll have to grab my phone and I'll have to make sure it goes through. Okay, Broncos fan says, would you put Lance and Swift in the same tier overall, Superflex, and assume default sleeper settings? Yes, I think Swift and Lance are in the same tier. I would prefer Lance, but I understand someone that would prefer Swift. And if we understand the difference between the two, I think that you can say they are in the same tier. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, let's look at this team. I mean, I really like this roster so far. I mean, we have 2 quarterbacks with elite level upside in Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. We have a quarterback that should have some longevity if he is impressive in his starts in Mack Jones. We have one of the best running backs room in the league, in my opinion, with Najee Harris and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and we've been able to come across with some wide receivers that correlate with our overall build so far. So I really, really like the start. Okay, so Trey Sermon does go at the 806. Nice pick there. I mean, I definitely like that Trey Sermon pick over Michael Carter, even though I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with that. Okay, so let's see a situation if any teams have some clear team needs. Okay, so Yield Fates has yet to take a wide receiver. That is notable. Blake looks like he's very balanced. BK has yet to go running back. Roster Bader, I mean, I guess once you take Kirk Cousins as your starting quarterback, I mean, you still kind of have a need there, but I don't necessarily think it's nearly as large of a need if you decided not to take one at all. And also, there's still some guys available. Okay, so Dietz, no real need there. Jack, I guess you could say a quarterback 2 is a need, but Ryan Tannehill is such a stable asset that I think you are fine with that. So K-Nut coming through, no real need. I don't think we have a real need. Too much Os. Don't think you have a real need. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming, get a running back 2, but I think given these league settings, you don't necessarily have to put the pressure on to just do that. So I think that's a fine team. Ryan, balanced. JJ, balanced. Honey Sriracha. So yeah, there are very few teams that are unbalanced here. I think that pretty much you're just going to continue to see best player available go. And if you are just now coming into this live stream, guys, please go down there, drop a like on the stream. Nobody else is doing this on YouTube. Literally nobody. Nobody is doing this because they don't have the balls to put up their real money and actually draft, stream, check the chat all at the same time and come away with a good dynasty team. I'm very happy with our start with this multitasking going on. So please go down there, drop a like. I hope y'all are enjoying it. And of course, if y'all want in our next Dynasty startup, go over there, support the show on Patreon. We are closing in on 400 members of the flock, which is absolutely massive. So thank you so much for everybody deciding to join. And like I said, guys, we are about to have a $500 league giveaway over there on Patreon for everybody supporting the channel when we hit 400. Peter says, thanks for reviewing my team on Patreon. I had a second league year draft question. Is Pat Frymuth worth a second-round pick in a 12-team league? My tight ends are Eric Ebron and Johnny Smith. Peter, can you remind me, is this the league that I broke down where it's a start to tight end format, or is it a tight end premium format at all? Please get back to me on that. We've gone through and we've made about, I want to say, 50 podcast team breakdowns over there on Patreon in the past 20 days, probably more than that, to be completely honest. So please let me remember, is this that start to tight end league? Okay, JN says, didn't catch the answer earlier. Are you watching Texas versus Mississippi later? Man, I'm going to try. I can't necessarily promise it just because I have a lot of work that I need to catch up on since we had to go through and set everything up for the meetup yesterday. So I'm definitely going to try to get that work done earlier today. My girlfriend ended up going to see her family, so I'm also completely in charge of the dog. So I'm going to try to catch the Texas game, but it may be a little bit harder. Maybe I can actually watch it on my computer as I work, actually. Yeah, that's what we'll do. I'll pull it up on my computer, probably just mute it and watch it as I work. Talon says 12 shy of 400. It looks like. Let's get to 400 by today. Yeah, we've had like 4 or 5 people joining Patreon every single day over the past month. I mean, the support over there has been ridiculous. Where I know we're going to hit 400 and we are going to hit that $500 giveaway mark by the time we get to the beginning of this upcoming week. So yeah, I'm not worried about it at all. We are hitting 400. But guys, please make sure you get there before we do that giveaway. If you want to have a shot at that free $500 league, if you want your own dynasty team broken down, if you want extra audio-only podcast available to you every single day. I mean, there is so much going on over there. We also have draft guides coming very soon. We already have our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide available, and we're having our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide available soon. Okay. So now Daniel Jones goes off the board at the 809. I really like that Daniel Jones value. I mean, given the fact that New York does go and put so many pieces around him, pretty much going, hey, man, it's do or die this year. You have the perfect situation set up, minus the offensive line, minus the coach, but you have to succeed or you're out of there. And with Daniel Jones, what you really like to see is you like to see that he does have the rushing capability to actually pick up some extra yards on the ground, which should raise his overall ceiling. So I really do like that Daniel Jones pick there at the end of the 8th. Now, Chase Edmonds going after that. Okay, Gabby says, LOL, I mean, not to mock you for it, but if you aren't even close to the only person on YouTube doing real money drafts, I probably see 5 to 6 best ball drafts streamed a week, all paid for. Yeah, best ball drafts that are not dynasty startups. There's a complete difference there. People that are streaming best ball drafts are actually getting paid to stream those drafts by best ball platforms. So it's a completely different situation there, big fella, where someone's putting up $10 to do a best ball league and streaming it so they can probably make $300 off the stream just off the best ball platform paying them, versus going through making a real Dynasty startup, commissioning the Dynasty League, and also having listeners go through and join. So yeah, I don't think that you're finding any of those live streams like this. And if you are, please correct me. But no, there's a complete difference between going through and doing just a regular best ball league that really doesn't take any effort at all and doing this. Okay. So Yield Fates is up. I believe still is yet to take wide receiver. He takes his first wide receiver in Adam Thielen. Okay. So he is going full on win now. I mean, this is a team that's going to be disgusting in a couple of years. Okay, so now let's go through Drag Analysis. What do you think a fair value for Tua is next year versus what it is this year? Do you think he will go up or still be in the late four? I don't want to say this is a make or break year for Tua Tagovailoa, but you are facing a situation where these quarterbacks don't necessarily have the long leash that you have once seen before. I mean, if you are drafted in the top 3, if you do have that significant team investment, then yes, Tua falls out of a range slightly where you've seen teams be a little bit more willing to move on from quarterbacks like a Josh Rosen very early on. So if Tua doesn't necessarily succeed this upcoming season, I mean, the bottom could fall out very quickly. But at the same time, you can acknowledge the fact that Miami is doing everything in the correct way to put talent around Tua where there is a ceiling. So it's going to be very hard for me to say, man, if Tua is guaranteed to rise or fall in value. If I had to make a bet, I would bet that Tua would probably be an early 4th round startup pick this upcoming year. Actually, I don't even know about that, because you look right now at Matthew Stafford, Ryan Tannehill, Aaron Rodgers are all late 5th, early 6th round picks. I think Tua most likely is probably going to maintain his dynasty value from this season to next. Okay, so now let's go through and see if we have any. Okay, so Peter says, my league is a basis, 1 tight end and 1 flex, no tight end premium. Okay, so man, if you pull up our Dynasty rookie rankings over there on Patreon for a league format like that, obviously you are going to be sliding Pat Freiermuth up slightly, given the fact that you really have nobody at tight end there. I don't necessarily think you want to be moving him up too much, though. He is still going to be that late 2nd round pick for me, or if you're taking him at the beginning of the 2nd over players, just say like a Trey Lance, a Justin Fields, even in a 1 quarterback league, I would really not like doing that. I would still rather have those wide receivers like an Elijah Moore or Rondale Moore. If they do fall in that range, I'd rather have Kadarius Toney. I'd rather have a player like Michael Carter. So I'll say I would be fine with going through and drafting a player like that at the end of the 2nd. But I think if you're talking the beginning of the 2nd, that's going to be a little too rich for my blood. Okay, so now let's go through and Mike coming out in the live stream. Thank you so much for coming out, my man. Okay, so Debo at the beginning of the 9th. Okay, so let's pull up the QB situation. Okay, you got Matt Ryan, Sam Darnold, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston. What kind of sucks about us taking Mack Jones at the end of the 7th is it's very hard for us to go through and take another quarterback now. I mean, we already have 3 quarterbacks on this roster, so it would be very hard for me from a roster construction standpoint to go through and draft yet another. Now, wide receiver, you have Michael Pittman, Tyler Boyd, Rondale Moore, Robbie Anderson, Hollywood Brown, Terrace Marshall, Jalen Rager, Jarvis Landry, Brandon Cooks, Corey Davis. I mean, there are a bunch of wide receivers left. Tight end, you have Mike Gesicki, Irv Smith, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, Logan Thomas, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, Cole Kmet. Okay, so, I mean, what we should have done, realistically, is we probably shouldn't have taken Mack Jones here. I really wanted Terrace Marshall with that next pick. Nice pick there. But we should have probably passed on Mack Jones. We probably should have gone with a Rashad Bateman, a Juju, a wide receiver in that range, and then ended up getting a quarterback over here with a Sam Darnold, Derek Carr, a Matt Ryan, a Jameis Winston, really any of those guys with this pick that we have at the 9-10. So that is a learning lesson. Hopefully we do not make that same mistake next time. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of what we decided to do there. Okay, Rob is saying, is this PPR scoring? Yes, sir, this is PPR. That is notable. So now let's pull back our team. We got Lawrence, Watson, Mack Jones at QB, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, and then Godwin, Evans, and Chark all at wide receiver. Okay, Vinny says, I'm in a Dynasty league. That's PPR, not Superflex, but passing touchdowns are worth 6 points. How does this change QB value? This is something we've talked about on Patreon with so many podcasts before, and that how is that changing our quarterback value? Is it's not necessarily making us value quarterbacks any higher, but it's changing how we attack the quarterback position with the prototype we're going after. So in a regular 4-point passing touchdown league, a guy like a Jalen Hurts, I'm going to be so excited to draft because you understand that his ceiling there is going to be significantly higher than what you have with the pocket passers, even if his passing volume is down. But if you make that league a 6-point passing touchdown league instead of a 4-point passing touchdown league, those pocket passing quarterbacks, someone like a Matt Ryan, a Matthew Stafford, a Tom Brady, Zach Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill, they become so much more appealing that I'm actually a little bit more interested in those type of players. Okay. So now here, I think we do look across positions because it looks like we are a little bit flat here. Like I said, I mean, we kind of made the mistake with going QB a little earlier on. I think I do like a wide receiver in this range, though. I think we do like to go through and draft Rondale Moore with the upside that I think he represents in this best ball format. So let's take Rondale Moore here at the 908. Let's pull up our team. I believe Rondale Moore now is our 4th wide receiver, drafting him in the 9th round. I do like that value. Going after Terrace Marshall, going after a player like Elijah Moore. I believe there were really no other rookie wide receivers available in that range. Rashad Bateman was already gone. So it looks like Rondale Moore was the last of that tier. I definitely prefer drafting Rondale Moore in the 9th compared to Jalen Waddle in the 6th, or even Devonta Smith at the beginning of the 6th. I like that value with Rondale Moore. Okay, so now let's see. Let's try to figure out where these teams are going to be going. So Too Much Oz, let's see if he decides to switch over and start taking running backs here, which would be completely reasonable. I mean, there are some appealing running backs. Like I said, I mean, we already had 2, so we really didn't feel the need to take another. But he goes Brandon Cooks. So he takes our potential Deshaun Watson stack. I'll say that, I mean, I'm a little bit hesitant to stack Deshaun Watson with Brandon Cooks because the Watson situation is so up in the air that we don't necessarily know if Cooks is going to be the guy there. So I'd rather just take the rookie, take the guy that we do believe has that longevity in a Rondale Moore, given the roster construction so far. Okay. So Ryan up here, I mean, he has yet to take a pick in the past 3 rounds. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe he goes running back here, given the fact that running backs have not gone off the board at all. I mean, if you pull up the best players available, according to ADP, you have Robinson, Gaskin, Ronald Jones, Darnold, Gesicki, Mike Davis, Melvin Gordon, Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith, A.J. Dillon, Hunter Henry, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Leonard Fournette. So it looks like a whole lot of running back. It looks like RB with some quarterback sprinkled in. And I really wish we would have waited on QB, but I simply think that if we're taking a 4th quarterback when we have to start 11 players here, that's not going to be ideal. I mean, if we had our entire starting lineup situation figured out, then possibly we go with a 4th quarterback, try to make something happen through trade. But no, here I think it would be a little bit too aggressive. So here you do have Ryan going through and getting his 3rd QB. After Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, he does take Jameis Winston. I really like that pick. Like I said, I mean, I think quarterbacks in this range are a nice value, but the problem is, I mean, we already have 3 guys. Okay, Peter saying he agrees on the Moore value. Okay, man, thank you for letting me know that. I mean, Rondale Moore is someone that I haven't been drafting in a ton of leagues, but I think that when you do have him falling significantly farther than the other wide receivers that we believe are in the same range of those rookie rankings, I like that. I mean, Rondale Moore is going to be on a team that should have no Christian Kirk next year, should have no A.J. Green. It's really going to only be DeAndre Hopkins and Rondale Moore, so I think that's when he's going to see that 2nd-year leap. Okay, so it looks like we have more likes on this live stream than live viewers. That is crazy. Thank you so much, guys, for everybody supporting the channel. Let me actually end this poll real quick. Okay, so Goose saying CMC and Fant or Dalvin and CeeDee Lamb. Okay, there, I think I actually prefer Dalvin Cook and CeeDee Lamb in a league that is not tight end premium because I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb as a cornerstone asset that you can build around. But Sam Darnold going at 9-11. Really love that value with Sam Darnold. I mean, these QBs, starting with Daniel Jones in the 8th, I really like that value. Okay, so Honey Sriracha with 3 picks in a row here. So he really is yet to go wide receiver. So maybe you see him go back-to-back wide receiver. Maybe you see him. I don't know. You can really go anywhere at this point. Aaron asking how the meetup was. Guys, the meetup was fantastic. I mean, literally, it was like best case scenario. We had like 10 people coming out. It was just a whole lot of fun. And I was a little nervous at first, but yeah, no, it was so much fun. The meetup literally could not have gone any better. Okay, Myles Gaskin finally goes off the board at the 9-12. I mean, that is that's a great value with Myles Gaskin. I mean, if we had a team that was a little bit more built to contend right away, I think we would have taken Myles Gaskin at the 908. Fantastic selection there. Even, I mean, not having a wide receiver really on that team that you can feel comfortable about, but just continuing to hammer home that value with Myles Gaskin. I do like that strategy. Okay, so the 10:02 on the clock right now. So let's see what Ryan's looking at. Okay, so he's gone 3 quarterbacks. He has 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. So, I mean, I think you're kind of balanced here. Maybe you go James Robinson. I mean, James Robinson, I know that in most startup drafts he would be gone already, but I'm just looking at him as a player that I really don't like. With Travis Etienne getting every valuable touch in the offense, you're essentially just betting on the fact that James Robinson maybe has a goal line role, which we don't even know, but that would be the thought process in drafting James Robinson. I'm viewing him very similar to a Jamal Williams, actually. Yeah, JN was at the meetup yesterday. Of course, I mean, we had a bunch of people coming out to that meetup. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, Rob saying Gaskin was a sort of a wow value for a PPR left on a board. Yeah, Myles Gaskin was a fantastic value at that point. Like I said, guys, if we were built a little bit more to contend right away, I think we would have been looking at Myles Gaskin compared to a Rondale Moore. Okay, so let me make sure everybody can see that draft board. And also, guys, if you are not following me on Instagram, make sure you go follow us on Instagram. That way you can go drop a like on that picture that we had from the Flock meetup. I will send that in the general chat right now. We also put it on our Twitter. I'm sure that you can see both of those on the screen. But go out there, drop that like on what we had with that Flock meetup pick. I mean, that is a very special pick for the first Flock meetup ever. Now, Jordan Love going at the beginning of the 10th. I do like that Jordan Love selection. Ronald Jones at the 10:03. Now we are going to be up in 1 pick. Let's see where Too Much Os decides to go, because Robinson is still available. He is yet to take a running back. I mean, how bad would it be if we take James Robinson here? I mean, I would hate to do it, but Robinson's ADP is 74 overall in this format, and we are at pick like 120 something. At some point, we have to catch the fallen knife. The problem is I just don't view James. I know James Robinson's young. I know he's only 22, but I'm not viewing him as someone that is going to have many spike weeks at all, and I'm not viewing him as a long-term asset. He's a UDFA. He's a UDFA that already lost his job. Okay, so wide receiver, you got Boyd, Hollywood Brown, Jalen Rager, Jarvis Landry, Corey Davis, Michael Gallup. Okay, so A.J. Dillon goes over James Robinson. That is notable. Now, I think what we look to do is I think we look to continue to build young with players that we think are going to be getting snaps this upcoming season. Okay. What we're going to do, I wouldn't necessarily do in a regular format, but given the fact that this is best ball, it makes me want to push him up the draft board slightly. I think here we do go with a Hollywood Brown, trying to capture those spike weeks, trying to capture those weeks where he does catch a long ball for a touchdown. He's our wide receiver 5 in this format. I mean, it is best ball. So we're going to be going with Hollywood Brown, only 24 years old, with our 10th round selection. Okay, so let's go through and see if we have anything. Ald Wolfpack says, unlock your IG. I forgot that we are private on Instagram. I will go through and if you requested to follow me so you can see that Flock meetup pick, let me go through and accept that real quick. Actually, I don't have Instagram downloaded on my phone. I'm going to have to do it after the live stream over on my computer. IO Life says, I view James Robinson as a committee running back with handcuff upside. Yes, sir. I mean, that's exactly what I'm viewing him. I'm viewing him very similar. Actually, we probably should have gone with James Robinson since we had Trevor Lawrence and kind of bet on the offense. I'm kind of regretting that Hollywood Brown pick. I think James Robinson may have been the better selection. I completely forgot we took Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, man, that's how I'm essentially viewing it. I'm viewing James Robinson as he's Jamal Williams, essentially. I mean, he's a running back that's going to have not an every down role, but he's going to be playing in almost every game. And he's also going to be in a situation where if Travis Etienne went down, all of a sudden James Robinson is a top 5 running back. So I'm kind of regretting that Hollywood Brown pick, to be completely honest. Jan says, Baker Mayfield cried like a girl after my goon squad at McNeil. knock late Travis out during the baseball season. And he said, insert gif of Baker Mayfield getting tackled, running from the police. I mean, Baker Mayfield has some crazy stories, crazy stories. Okay, so now Mike Davis at the 10:06. Okay, so let's see Yield Fates at the 10:07. So this is the guy that was absolutely crazy trading up to get two first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and then he has really only had 1 wide receiver. He has 2 tight ends, 3 running backs, and 2 quarterbacks. So I guess you can kind of go anywhere that you want at this point. But also, guys, like I said, if you're just now joining this, please, if there was something that I did that you think I got wrong, go down to the comment section and let me know. Please drop a comment saying, Mason, you were stupid. This is what you should have done. Here's why you were stupid. Don't just end it at, Mason, you were stupid. Please let me know what decision I made was wrong and let me know why that was the wrong decision. Now, Robinson finally goes off the board at the 10:07. Yeah, I think maybe that was a mistake going Hollywood Brown over James Robinson, even in a best ball format, given the fact that we were essentially making that bet on the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. I mean, we have Lawrence, we have Chark. I think getting Robinson would have made sense in the 10th round. Obviously, when you see him in a lot of other startup drafts going in round 7, I think that is just horrendous, and I would never consider him there. But in the 10th round, I think James Robinson is good value. Okay, so Alex says, how do you view the running back situation in Arizona? I'm viewing it as Chase Edmonds is the clear running back 1 there. I think James Conner does have some upside to be a top 10 running back in fantasy, though, or if you did see an injury to a player like Chase Edmonds, all of a sudden James Conner could all of a sudden become a 3-down running back on one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL. So I actually really like both running backs at their price right now. I expected both guys would be a little bit more expensive than they actually are. Okay, so Corey Davis going at the 10:08. I will say I'm kind of happy that we decided to pass on Mark Andrews where we did. We were considering him at the 6:03, but given the fact that you've seen these tight ends fall, where I don't necessarily feel the need to push them up the board at all, I mean, I am fine that we went through and we let them, even though this is a tight end premium format. Okay, I want to let everyone know we are going to be live streaming this draft for the first 2 hours. So we are going to be streaming until 4 p.m. Central Time here. And then we are going to be switching this over to a slow draft because obviously y'all are not going to want to watch us draft 30 rounds. That would just be absolutely ridiculous. So we are most likely going to continue to do this for the next 40 minutes and then switch it over to a slow draft. Yield Faith says Robinson is on the block for a wide receiver with a winky face. Man, shoot me over an offer of James Robinson for Hollywood Brown, and I would possibly be looking to make that move, given the fact that we would get that Jacksonville Jaguars stack. Okay, JN says he actually kind of likes Kyler. Man, I think Kyler Murray, for fantasy purposes, is a clear quarterback to fall in love with. I understand that he has very poor decision-making by deciding to go to OU. I mean, I don't know why Aaron in the chat right now has Spencer Rattler as his profile pick. I mean, hopefully it's Spencer Rattler's dad or something, and he's just showing some respect for Father's Day. But, yeah, no, I mean, deciding to go to OU, you can't show any worse decision-making than that. But beyond that, Kyler Murray has that elite rushing upside. You've seen the production through the first 2 years. So he's a great fantasy quarterback despite the poor decision-making. Okay, so Tyler Boyd and Corey Davis going after us. So it looks like we may be making a trade live on air, trading Hollywood Brown for James Robinson. Man, Yield Fates, let me know if you send that trade over. And let me know in the general chat, and I'll pull up my phone real quick, and I'll accept that deal. I don't want to get off the draft page real quick, though. Okay, so Gallup goes at the 10:10. I really do like that Michael Gallup selection. I have a video coming out on Michael Gallup tomorrow. I mean, a player that's going to be a free agent next offseason. I mean, Michael Gallup, there are reasons to get excited. Okay, so Tyler Boyd, Corey Davis also going. So you have some interesting wide receivers going. But this is why we should have waited on QB. I mean, you still have starting quarterbacks in Derek Carr, Jared Goff, and Roethlisberger, Cam Newton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, all available on the board. I mean, I think that pick of Mack Jones where we took him at the 7:08, I really don't like that value with what we could have gotten later on. Roster Bader says he is open for trades now. Let me see what that roster is looking at like right now. I don't necessarily. Maybe we could look to trade Mack Jones for Daniel Jones plus a piece. That could be interesting. But outside of that, I don't really see anything that we would like. Okay, so Kadarius Toney continues that wide receiver run. It looks like we do have that wide receiver run going. I mean, if you look at the past 3 rounds, I mean, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Out of the past 36 picks, there have been actually, I believe, if my simple math is correct, 21 of them have been wide receiver. Make that 22 now with both Henry Ruggs and Darnell Mooney going off the board. I really like Henry Ruggs in this format, given the fact that you are being able to capture his spike weeks. So really great pick there with Henry Ruggs. Now it looks like we got a massive wide receiver run going. Derek saying he finally made it to a live stream. My man, thank you so much for coming out. And how's this your first time making it out to a live stream? Are you not subscribed to the channel? Do you not have that notification bell hit? If you don't, make sure you fix your life and do that right now. Okay, so we are going to be up on the clock in about 5 picks. We go position by position. Best available running back, I would say, is most likely Damian Harris. No, I'm not a massive fan of Damian Harris, though. I would be surprised if we end up drafting Damian Harris, to be completely honest. I mean, maybe you can make the argument that it is Leonard Fournette instead. Wide receiver, you got Robert Tonyan, Jalen Rager, Jarvis Landry, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Denzel Mims, Devontae Parker, Mike Williams, McCole Hardman, Amari Rodgers. You got a bunch of wide receivers that you could be interested in. And then at tight end, you have Mike Gesicki, Hunter Henry, Robert Tonyan, Evan Ingram, Logan Thomas, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith. I think the best available, honestly, is still quarterback. I mean, getting Jared Goff in a range like this is just absolutely ridiculous. Yield Faith says him and Henry Ruggs went to the same high school. Man, how old are you? Don't tell me that there's no way you are actually in high school with Henry Ruggs there. If that's the case, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Let me know how old you are. If you're over 50 or something, just say I'm not even close to it. But if you actually went to that same high school the time Henry Ruggs is there, that would be absolutely insane. Okay, so it looks like we have tight ends going off the board with back-to-back picks in Hunter Henry and Irv Smith Jr. I mean, Irv Smith Jr. is someone that I have across so many different Dynasty leagues, and I was almost all in on Irv Smith in Dynasty last year. But the reports coming out of Minnesota aren't great. I mean, it's giving me Dante Pettis flashbacks. Very rarely do you have a head coach continually coming out and talking poorly about one of his guys, because what's his incentive to do that? So I am actually very rarely moving players up and down my draft board from OTA news. But Irv Smith is someone that I've been historically high on. I think that we actually have to move him down our draft board slightly based on the news that we've had centered around. Okay, so Ryan is up on the clock here. Let's see where he decides to go. Okay, I have a player in mind that I want to be drafting with my own pick. Hopefully, we end up getting him. Unsure if it's going to happen, but we are only 1 pick away, so I'm not going to necessarily say anything at this point. Okay, so Yield Fates, man, let me know. Did you go to high school the same time as Henry Ruggs? Because obviously, that would be incredible. And I really wish, okay, Mike Gesicki goes. I really wanted Mike Gesicki. Great pick there. I think we possibly decide, actually, no. I don't think I want to go tight end. Who's picking after us? Too much odds. We can naturally assume he's probably going to go tight end. Ryan, I'd be surprised. JJ, Honey Sriracha. No, I think we go. This is close. This is close. I think we go wide receiver. Actually, no, we're going to go tight end, because the wide receiver that I would be drafting, I would bet is going to be available at the 12:05. So we're going to be going tight end, and it would be down between Evan Ingram and Logan Thomas for us. Logan Thomas, 29 years old. Evan Ingram, 26. Robert Tonyan, I'm not a massive fan of Robert Tonyan, especially with the Aaron Rodgers news circulating. I think we actually go with the tight end that we have really liked for a long time. I know he's been disappointing the past few years, but I think we draft Evan Ingram in the 11th round. I mean, I am going to be so overweight on Evan Ingram this year that we have way too many eggs in that Evan Ingram basket. I will definitely tell you that. Okay, so we're taking Evan Ingram in the 11th, continuing this tight end run. I was really hoping that we were going to be able to get Mike Gesicki, but it is what it is. Completely fine. I mean, the Miami Dolphins haven't necessarily shown the fact that they love Mike Gesicki to begin with by going through and pretty much just adding passing weapons across the entire offense, including drafting a tight end in the 3rd round this past year in Hunter Long. So then getting Evan Ingram there, we are completely fine with. Okay. Okay, so Yield Fate says no, his little brother was there at the same time. Okay, still, man, that is awesome. That is really cool. Okay, now Rager going off the board at the 1109. I mean, Jalen Rager, he does have an excuse for the lack of production last year, but a wide receiver prospect that I really didn't even like coming into the NFL. I mean, y'all know I was very low on Jalen Rager coming out of TCU. So that's why when we made that video breaking down Jalen Rager, I was pretty much saying, hell, I mean, Rager, nothing has really changed. If you liked him coming into the draft, you should love the value that he's at now that he's lost a significant amount of value. But if you didn't really like him coming into the NFL and you have the switch over there to Jalen Hurts, there's no reason to be drafting Jalen Rager now. Okay, so Jared Goff finally falling off the board in the 11th round as the quarterback 3 for Yield Fates. I mean, it's just crazy to pull up this draft board when you have so many trades like this all over. Now, that is our team. If anybody is just coming into the live draft, we have Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, and Mack Jones at QB. At running back, we have both Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. At wide receiver, we have Godwin, Mike Evans, DJ Chark, Rondale Moore, Hollywood Brown. And at tight end, we have Evan Ingram. I really do like this start that we've been able to have. I'm Sixth Win says, I was in the same grade as Cole Kmet in high school. Now the Bears might be... okay, let me move this up. Moving it... Okay, I was in the same grade as Cole Kmet in high school. Now the Bears might be moving to the town it is in. Okay, what are you talking about? The Bears might be moving to the town it is in. But I'm just so confused by that, my man. I am sorry about that. Okay, so Damian Harris does finally go off the board after falling a considerable amount in the 11th round. But like I said, guys, I mean, I'm viewing Damian Harris as a player I really liked last offseason. I mean, last offseason, you could get Damian Harris for a 3rd-round rookie pick, and I was doing it every single time going, hey, this is a player coming out of Alabama that had the potential to be a 3-down guy if Bill Belichick decided to use him in that way. But we ended up finding that, nope, Bill's going to use him exactly how he used Sony Michel, which drastically limits the upside that you're going to find from Damian Harris. So that's why last year I was all in on buying him at a much cheaper price when nobody was interested. But he comes out, has a good season from PFF standards, but it equates to him being a running back 4 in fantasy. And people are all of a sudden on him. No, I think that we saw the role that he would be used in, and it's not appealing for fantasy. Okay, so IO Live says reports are that Eagles are using Rager in the slot this year, could give him a second life. I know I did see those reports, and I did actually really like that. Okay, so Kevin says Bears are moving to Arlington, Illinois, most likely to build a new stadium before 2023. Okay, I had no idea about that. Oh, thank you for clarifying. That makes a lot more sense. Aaron says Judy over Godwin. Interesting, coming from a huge Judy fan. I think Jerry Judy is one of the most overvalued assets in Dynasty, to be completely honest. I mean, I could never consider drafting Judy over A-Rob, over Brandon Ayuk, over Chris Godwin, over Amari Cooper or Devonta Smith even. I mean, Devonta Smith was actually more productive at Alabama in 2019 on that same team with Jerry Judy. I know a lot of people want to go, oh, Devonta Smith didn't have a good wide receiver season until his senior year. That's not true at all. He was more productive than Jerry Judy in 2019 in the same situation. Then he came out and completely crushed. So I think I would rather have Devonta Smith over Jerry Judy. It's not like the quarterback situation is any better with what you're having in Denver, and it's honestly easier to get targets in Philadelphia right now. Okay, so Tony Pollard here at the 1201. Mike Williams at the 1202. Possibly we look, I think it's going to be interesting. Rob Down says New England running backs are fool's gold. Yes, I'll say that New England running backs aren't all bad, but what you have to do with the New England running back is it's very simple. Take the cheapest option. That's why we're going Ramondre Stevenson all year this year at the very end of drafts. I mean, don't give me Damian Harris, the expensive version. I'll take Damian Harris when he was the cheapest running back in New England last year. Now that he has his price increased, and after a disappointing season, in my opinion, I'm looking to sell Harris, and I'm looking to bet on the cheapest New England running back in Stevenson. Okay, so now let's go through, and we are going to be up in one pick. I really like this draft that Too Much Oz has had so far. I mean, loading up on young players that are also going to be productive right away. I mean, that's how you come in. That's how you create a long-term build, as well as having that production right away at the same time. But now that we are up on the clock, because I think there's going to be a big fall at tight end sometime soon, I'm very interested in going with Logan Thomas. As wide receiver, I'm kind of fine getting a few guys on the way back here. And Logan Thomas, I think you can expect him to be an every down player for this team. So I think we go Logan Thomas in the 12th. This is a tight end premium format. Expecting one of those guys in a best ball league to be able to provide us enough production to keep us afloat at the tight end position through the course of the season. And also at the same time, we're going to find that in a 1.5 PPR for the tight end position, that both of those players, when they have their spike weeks, if it happens at the same time, they will slide into that flex spot. So I do like having those draft picks. Okay, but please, guys, let me know what y'all think of those last two picks. I know people aren't necessarily going to be massive fans of them, but I think we are fine with where that was. Okay, Garrett says, like Jalen Ramsey said, I wish people would just shut up about Darnell Mooney. I mean, what is up with the Darnell Mooney and Jalen Ramsey meme? I know that a lot of people just say Jalen Ramsey is Darnell Mooney's dad. Oh, God dang it. Mecole Hardman goes off the board right after we take Logan Thomas. Mecole Hardman would have been our selection if we didn't go with Logan Thomas. I thought there was a tiny chance that he was going to make it back to us in the 13th round. Great pick with Mecole Hardman there in a best ball league. I am very jealous that you ended up getting him there. Yield Fate says, whoever just took Mecole, you're dead to me. Yeah, I am right there. I mean, I really wish we could have came away with Mecole Hardman. Okay, so running back, you got Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette, Raheem Mostert, James Conner, Kenyon Drake, Kenneth Gainwell, Devin Singletary, David Johnson, Naheem Hines, Gus Edwards, Alexander Madison, Darrell Henderson, Philip Lindsay, and J.D. McKissick. Quarterback, you got Big Ben, Cam Newton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taysom Hill, Drew Lock. Tight end, you got Pat Fryermuth, Cole Kmet, Tyler Higbee, Adam Troutman, Austin Hooper, Rob Gronkowski. Wide receiver, Denzel Mims, Devontae Parker, Amari Rodgers, Antonio Brown, Diami Brown, Nelson Aguilar, Gabriel Davis, and Christian Kirk. Okay. But also, guys, I mean, y'all have absolutely crushed that like button during this live stream. So I just want to give a massive thank you to everybody who has done that. I mean, we literally have almost 140 likes right now with only 118 people watching that live stream. So it looks like literally bots are in here. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, dropping that like. Obviously, that makes a massive difference. Okay, Aaron Law says, Mooney beat Jalen Ramsey on a double move, but Foles overthrew him and people blew it way out of proportion. Okay, thank you for clarifying on that. I mean, there was that other meme that I literally didn't understand at all, where people are just go, how does this affect Marlon Mack? How does this affect Marlon Mack? I don't understand the Marlon Mack meme either, but someone explained it to us on one of those other videos. Okay, Jayan says, I just love how Dynasty YouTubers had him as their wide receiver 1. He went to the best situation and still fell. Okay, so who are Rondell Moore? Okay, yeah, Rondell Moore. That is funny that there were people that had him as their wide receiver 1, and all of a sudden he goes to the best situation he can in Arizona with a creative offensive-minded coach, which is what we were asking for the entire time, and people decided to drop Rondell Moore down rookie drafts. So it is funny to see that, but I love getting that value of Rondell Moore in the 9th round, so I'm not going to complain too much. Okay, so it looks like I'm very happy we decided to take Logan Thomas in the 12th. Because you do have that tight end run continuing to happen. I mean, it looks like rounds 11 and 12 are the rounds of the tight end. Hunter Henry, Irv Smith, Mike Gesicki, Evan Ingram, Tunyon, Thomas, Smith, Fryermuth, Troutman, and Cole Kmet all going in 2 rounds. Okay, so Aaron Law says, I never got the Mac thing either. What was the meme? Okay, so apparently the meme happened whenever they drafted Jonathan Taylor, and people were asking, how does this affect Marlon Mack? I'm assuming that's what the meme came from. At least that's what people told me in the comment section. I don't necessarily know how it's that funny, but still, I mean, I guess that's where it came from. Okay, Moogly says, I'm new to Dynasty, but I really like Mooney, and I've been talking him up. I know Dynasty is all about production, but Mooney passing my eye test is one of those players that just finds ways to get open. My thing with Darnell Mooney is I think instead of buying into Darnell Mooney, if Darnell Mooney is going to be successful in the NFL, I mean, simply you're going to have to find Justin Fields coming in and being the best version of himself. And if he's the best version of himself, then Darnell Mooney is going to hit for fantasy if Justin Fields can consistently hit him when he does get open deep. But I am simply stating that with Darnell Mooney, I would never have him on a team that I do not have Justin Fields. I would rather bet on Justin Fields than bet on Darnell Mooney when Justin Fields presents the rushing upside at the same time. And because I'm not a massive fan on betting on Justin Fields when sometimes he costs more than Trey Lance, at that point, I'm kind of all out on Darnell Mooney. I did recently draft him in a Dynasty startup, I believe, in the last Flock Patreon League. But yeah, I mean, I think that if you're going to be betting on someone in Chicago, bet on Allen Robinson. If you don't want to bet on Allen Robinson, bet on Justin Fields, the rushing quarterback himself. Okay, so now let's go through and see if we have any running backs available that could be interesting. Not necessarily. I mean, running backs have really not been drafted at all over the past 2 rounds, but there's reason for that. I mean, there are no running backs that you can get excited about. Tight end. Thank God we drafted some tight ends recently, because I mean, I would really not be wanting to draft Tyler Higbee here, to be completely honest. Jet Pop says, you're so high on Lance and Lawrence and you've never seen them play snap. Spending such high draft capital on assumptions is stupid in my opinion. If they are bust, your team is done. Okay, 2 things here. A, I did not draft Trey Lance. And B, what you're actually finding is with those rookies, you can say that about every single draft class. And what you're finding is, yes, the range of outcomes is a lot wider with the rookies coming into the NFL, because they are projections based on the prospect profiles that you have coming into the NFL, as well as what we have with historical context. But really understanding that historical context and what you are finding with best and worst case scenario with quarterbacks coming in based on their prospect profiles, it gives you a very good idea of how they should be valued in Dynasty, and knowing that other quarterbacks like a Baker Mayfield, like a Zach Wilson, like an Aaron Rodgers, a Ryan Tannehill, are we that confident that over the next 4 years, they're going to be providing you with that top end production regardless? So I know a lot of people want to say that, oh, don't invest into rookies. But hey, if you want to be able to find a league winning player, if you want to be able to find a Justin Jefferson, if you want to be able to find a Justin Herbert, if you want to be able to find a Joe Burrow, I mean, you have to invest into the rookies, because if Trey Lance or Trevor Lawrence come in and they hit right away, good luck buying them. Good luck buying Trey Lance when he's valued higher than Lamar Jackson. It ain't happening. Okay, so now let's go through Kenyon Drake going at the 1301. Yield Fates. Man, don't time out here, guys. We got a 90-second timer. There is no reason to see a single timeout here. Taking Nelson Aguilar in the 13th round. I mean, serves you right. I don't even know if that was an auto pick. I don't know if that was in your queue, but regardless, I mean, come on, guys. It's a 90-second timer. I believe this is the longest timer we've had on any of these Flock Patreon startups. Okay, so JN says, if Fields is an average passer, Mooney will be at minimum a wide receiver 2. PayPal is open. JN, we can make a bet on that, my man. We have to get some classifications on what an average passer means, but I'll make a bet that Darnell Mooney is not a wide receiver 2 in points per game. I mean, I'll make that bet anytime. Okay, Amari Rodgers, 1304. Tyler Higbee at the 1305. So continuing that tight end run here. I believe that's probably going to be the last tight end going off the board unless someone wants to take Gronk. Outside of that, I really don't see any of those guys going. Okay, so running back, not necessarily anybody I love. Quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, getting him in the 13th round kind of feels nasty. We already have 3 guys. I really can't be drafting Big Ben in this range. I mean, if I had 2 quarterbacks, I mean, I would be completely fine taking Big Ben, understanding that this is a best ball league and you are going to be having those spike weeks from him randomly, given the weapons that he does have. But yeah, no, I think what we would rather do is we'd rather continue to fade. Okay, Jerry says, I think Kmet will benefit the most from Justin Fields. Man, I actually have the exact opposite opinion, if that makes any sense at all, because I'm viewing Darnell Mooney as someone that has an extremely high average depth of target, as someone that desperately needs good quarterback play, at least above average quarterback play, to be able to go through and to be able to hit in fantasy, because someone has to hit him on those deep routes. But Cole Kmet, I mean, even a bad quarterback can support a tight end. I mean, you can have Logan Thomas popping off last year. I mean, you can have bad quarterbacks propping up tight ends given their lower average depth of target, given the fact that you're not necessarily having to be as accurate with them. So I think tight end production is a little less about the quarterback play and a little less about the situation and a little more about the actual tight end themselves. Okay, so now let's see where K-Nut decides to go in the 13th. Okay, JN says he forgot Goodwin is in Chicago. That may hurt Mooney. That's not hurt Mooney at all. My man, Marquise Goodwin is just completely done. It's sad to say, but no, he's completely done. Okay, so it looks like Denzel Mims is the wide receiver that's falling here, but to be completely honest, I mean, I have no appeal in drafting Denzel Mims anytime soon. It looks like he's actually running with the 2s right now in practice. And like I said, I mean, it's notable to see that this front office feels the need to go and sign Corey Davis to a massive contract. Not only sign Corey Davis to a massive contract, but afterwards go draft Elijah Moore in the second round. So that really makes me want to fade Denzel Mims. I think a wide receiver that I actually like here is going and getting Paris Campbell. Now, Paris Campbell looks like someone I'm going to be overweight on, but I think that he's someone that you can easily project to see snaps this upcoming season. Maybe we go Antonio Brown with already having 2 wide receivers on this team from Tampa, but he's 32 years old. I don't know if he necessarily fits the build. I think we go Paris Campbell here. Unless there's another position that we like. Big Ben is intriguing, but this is a win now team. Let's go. I'm sorry, this is a young team, so let's go Campbell. Timothy says, can you please scroll back up? I'm trying to see the first few rounds, brother. Yes, sir. I got you, my man. Let's pull this up. Okay, so I'll also, let me hide my little screen real quick so you can check this out. Ooh, wrong one. There we go. There we go. So that is the full draft board. Like I said, guys, please go down to the comment section of this video and please let me know what picks you think I made wrong, what you would have done that would have been better, and why I was wrong with the decision that I made. Okay, but there we go. Let's pull this back over here. Okay, so Damian Brown, Brian Edwards going directly after us. So it looks like maybe we're in the middle of a little bit of a wide receiver run. I will say I really do like the Devontae Parker pick here. I mean, K-Nut has been really killing this draft in my opinion. I mean, I love that Parker pick. We definitely would have gone with Parker if he was not selected right before us. Okay, so IO Life is saying, is Kyle Trask a good late round pick if you have Brady in the mid rounds? Kyle Trask is interesting because I think I definitely prefer having Kellen Mond, because with Kellen Mond, you at least have the access to having that rushing upside that could be better for fantasy. So Kyle Trask in a 6-point passing touchdown league is definitely a lot more interesting because in that format, you could see a path for him to making an actual difference. But yeah, no, I think that Kyle Trask, someone I'm not a massive fan of. The situation is nice, but the actual rushing production itself is simply not there. Okay, I don't know why we switched this over to that. I'm sorry about that, my dudes. Let's pull it back up in the normal realm. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I have no idea what I was thinking. Okay, so let's get that back up here. Okay, Scott Brown saying Damiere Byrd is the wide receiver 1 in Chicago. Okay, so Denzel Mims at 13-12. Finally, Denzel Mims was the largest faller from that round. Ooh, there is a very, very interesting spot to go with this next pick. Okay, so we got Mostert, Connor. Connor's interesting. We were talking about him having a possible role on every down, as well as having an elite upside if Chase Edmonds did go down in fantasy. So maybe James Connor's interesting. Maybe we continue to hammer wide receiver. Do y'all think that Teddy Bridgewater is actually going to be the starter in Denver this year? Because if Bridgewater starts in Denver, I mean, he is going to be a massive value in these Superflex best ball drafts because, I mean, he's a player that has Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Judy. Of course, he's going to be at least the very minimum, a baseline level of production that could pop off in your quarterback 2 spot. Okay, so Scott saying Justin Fields over Patrick Mahomes. I know Justin Fields has his massive, massive, massive fanboys. Okay, so at the 14:01 after Denzel Mims, let's see where Honey Sriracha decides to go. Raheem Mostert. Okay, so that is an interesting pick. I think I probably would have preferred James Conner over Raheem Mostert, even though I understand people wanting to chase Mostert with that running back 1 situation, not necessarily settled over there in San Francisco. Aaron Law saying Justin Fields is the next Marcus Mariota. I'm not going to lie, Marcus Mariota was a better college prospect. Marcus Mariota was a very, very, very good college prospect coming out of Oregon. Very surprising that he did not hit. Okay, Nyheim Hines at the 14:02. In a best ball format, I actually really like Nyheim Hines here. Okay, so now let's go through because, I mean, in the best ball format, here's at least how I'm viewing it, is I'm essentially trying to chase players that you know are going to have a role on it every given week, that we are just trying to capture those random spike weeks where they see 2 touchdowns. And I think Nyheim Hines, I mean, he did have those spike weeks last year. I mean, if we view his player card real quick, I mean, you see that he has a spike week. At least, are these projections or... Okay, yeah, no, those are, I know, 2020 fantasy. Yeah, he has a spike week in week 1 for 27 points. He has a spike week in week 8 for 21, a spike week in week 10 for 28. He has a 17-point week as well. And I mean, if you're getting that pick at a running back spot here in the 14th round, I think that's a very, very nice selection. Okay, so after we talk about Kellen Mond a little bit, you do see him going off the board here at the 1403 ahead of Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, that is crazy in my opinion. Okay, JN says if Teddy Bridgewater starts, I'm trading him in my best ball so fast. Yes, sir, I believe. JN, is that the Flock 7 that you are in where you have Teddy Bridgewater? Please let me know if I am mistaken, but I think we have we have a contending team in literally almost every single Flock league. So if Teddy Bridgewater starts, I probably will be looking to ship you over a future prospect to go get Teddy Bridgewater. Okay, so now let's go through and see if there are any other players that pop out. There's one guy that I actually really like given the best ball format that I'm hoping falls to us. Nico Collins goes right before us. Okay, so Nico Collins would have been someone I'd be intrigued with given the fact that we did decide to take Deshaun Watson in the 4th. But now that Nico Collins is off the board, what I think we actually do here is, it's gross to say this out loud, but given the fact that he is going to be an every down player for this team and he should see the target volume, I think we take Russell Gage. I mean, this is the perfect guy for a best ball format. I know that he is not someone that you're looking at having that long-term value, but he himself, like if we're talking about spike weeks, he had some last year. I mean, he had a 20-point week in week 1, 16-point week in week 2, also comes through, and in 13, a 15-point week, 18-point week, 17-point week, 25-point week. I mean, Russell Gage does have the potential to have those spike weeks in a best ball format. We are drafting him here as our wide receiver. Let's count this out. Wide receiver 7. Is that right? I mean, we got 3. Yeah, he's our wide receiver 7. So I think we are happy about that pick. Okay, Rob says, given the Cousins contract, Mon will sit at for a minimum of 2 years. I actually thought the Cousins contract was up after this year. Is it not? Let me pull this up real quick, just because I could easily be wrong. Okay, so let's pull up this Kirk Cousins contract. I believe Cousins is on the last year of his deal. No, you're right. Kirk Cousins has $45 million guaranteed in 2022. So, yeah, good thing we double-checked on that. Good thing we were not just talking out of our ass there. Okay, Aaron says, Watson going to be balling in prison, 2-man touch league. I don't know about the Texans. Okay, so here with Deshaun Watson, all I will say is the NFL have some powerful lawyers. The NFL has some, I mean, look up Tyreek Hill and what his girlfriend said. I mean, that phone call. And remember the Dynasty commotion after that dropped. I mean, Tyreek Hill across so many of my Dynasty leagues was being traded for a 3rd round pick. Now, I mean, Tyreek Hill does not make the NFL nearly as much money as Deshaun Watson does. And with Deshaun Watson, you don't have a tape like a Kareem Hunt, a Ray Rice. You don't have an audio call like a Tyreek Hill. And I hate to even talk about this because I know it's disgusting, but we're playing fantasy. I'm just trying to score points here. And I think the NFL has shown over and over and over again that they're going to try to get their players that are going to make them money out on the field. Okay, so now let's go through. And IO Live says, I feel like Gage is a prime sell high player if he posts a blow-up week. I would say in a traditional league where you're having to submit a starting lineup every single week, yes, I completely agree with you there. But in this format where Russell Gage is just going to be playing as a pop-off guy, I'm completely fine with him there. Okay, so Alexander Madison at the 1501 after Gus Edwards, Kenyon Drake. So it looks like Yield Fates is loading up on those handcuff running backs that do have the potential to burst into 3-down roles if they get that opportunity. Okay, so guys, we are going to be live for another 10 minutes. Then we are going to be switching this to a slow draft. But thank you so much, guys, for everybody who's hung out with us so far. Like I said, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for the next 10 minutes. I just really wanted to give everybody a massive thank you for coming out. And also, it looks like we're about to pass 150 likes on the live stream. That is absolutely crazy. Okay, so Madison in the 15th. Christian Kirk in the 15th as well. I like the Kirk pick. I mean, I love the talent of Christian Kirk coming out of Texas A&M. I mean, like I said, when you do come out of Texas A&M, you really have to question the decision-making on the wide receiver. But I think at the wide receiver position, decision-making isn't nearly as important as it is with those quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray coming out and deciding to go to Oklahoma. But still, I mean, Christian Kirk, I loved his profile to be a slot wide receiver at the NFL level. He really never got that opportunity. He was miscast as a field stretcher just because they had to pay the respect to Larry Fitzgerald and let Larry Fitzgerald himself play in the slot. But yeah, I mean, there with Christian Kirk, don't necessarily love the idea of him just not getting a real shot in Arizona, because I thought he was a player that had the talent profile to really go through and actually thrive. Okay, JN says, what's the best landing spot for Deshaun Watson? Easily the best landing spot for Deshaun Watson is Denver. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, having Jerry Judy, Noah Fant, and Cortland Sutton, just imagine Deshaun Watson there. I mean, that would be the best situation he's ever played in his entire NFL career. Even better than when he had DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, because Will Fuller would only play about 5 to 6 games a season with Deshaun Watson there. So yeah, I mean, if you had Watson in Denver, I think people could aggressively rank Deshaun Watson as the top 3 quarterback with no problem, to be completely honest. Okay, so Ben Roethlisberger still available. I mean, Devin Singletary goes in the 15th round. So I'm scrolling real quick so everybody can see the best players available according to ADP. And I don't know why Sleeper's kind of like messing up and like just spacing it out like this. Obviously, it's not ideal to look at. Looks like we haven't had a tight end go off in a while. Maybe given the fact that we already have so much invested into that Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing attack, we decide to get a Rob Gronkowski. Maybe we just continue to hammer home wide receiver. Darrell Henderson, that was going to be my player that I wanted at the 1508, trying to throw some people off looking at tight ends, looking at wide receiver. But great pick with Darrell Henderson there. I really like the upside with what you're going to find. Still on his rookie deal, so he's going to be locked into that handcuff role for the foreseeable future. I really like that pick with Darrell Henderson in the middle of the 15th. So now let's go through and see. God dang, I really wanted Darrell Henderson there. Maybe we go Marvin Jones, given the fact that we have the Trevor Lawrence stack, but the problem is Marvin Jones, 31. Yeah, he's 31 years old. I mean, this is someone that doesn't necessarily fit the build. Also, he was the wide receiver 1 in Detroit last year, and he only had, I mean, I guess he did have some spike weeks. I think maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. Okay, but you have Williams, Kenneth Gainwell going right before us. So here, I am interested in going with Marvin Jones. Instead, I think we're going to go with a player that I really like. I'm going to be kind of quote-unquote reaching on this player according to ADP, but in a best ball format, I really like how he plays. I'm going to be going KJ Hamler here, just kind of betting on talent. I know the situation's disgusting with him clearly being the 4th best option in the passing game in Denver, but possibly Cortland Sutton is gone next year. KJ Hamler was the youngest wide receiver in the NFL draft last year. Pull up his player card. He's probably he's 21 years old. So he's younger than a player like Devonta Smith already, and he's been in the NFL that 1 year. And then we saw, actually, they don't have his game logs loaded into Sleeper. That is very weird. I mean, we have seen a spike week from KJ Hamler in his rookie season already. Okay, so Stevenson going right after us. Okay, we just passed 150 likes on the live stream. That is crazy. Thank you, my dudes, for that kind of support. Obviously, that is massive. Okay, so now Marvin Jones goes right after us. I probably shouldn't have talked about Marvin Jones at all. That was probably a bad move by me. We should have just waited until we could have got Marvin Jones on the 16th, but it is what it is. Now you have Kyle Trask going right after with the 15-11. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have 5 more minutes on this live stream. So I want to remind everyone, guys, we should hit 400 Patreon supporters early this week. And when we hit 400 Patreon supporters, if you are a member over there, please be on the lookout. I'm going to be sending announcements in Discord. I'm going to be sending announcements on Patreon as well for that post to get your name down for the drawing for the $500 fantasy league. Now, we're going to be drawing for spots for you to actually just go through and pay. You would be required to pay the $500 buy-in to have a shot at the $6,000 pot. But we're also going to be doing a drawing to do a free giveaway for that league where I'm going to take my own money and I'm going to be spending the $500 to pay in for someone else. So please, I'll have the exact directions on how to enter on Patreon later this week when we hit 400 supporters. But be on the lookout for that. I will also send it in the Discord chat. Okay, Aaron says, does anyone know if Melvin Gordon is suspended a game or not? Because on Sleeper, as suspended, it shows that Will Fuller is. I don't think that Melvin Gordon's suspended. I know that he did have that thing with the DUI, but I don't think it ever really came in to anything serious. Let me look up if Melvin Gordon was suspended. Yeah, no, Melvin Gordon's not going to serve a suspension. That's what I thought. Yeah, Melvin Gordon's good to go for all 17 games this upcoming year. Okay, so Jimmy Garoppolo going right after us. I'm sorry, not right after us, right after Trask and Ben Roethlisberger. I definitely like the Ben Roethlisberger pick more than Jimmy G, because with Big Ben, you're essentially guaranteeing yourself that you're going to have 16 starting games. Now, QB after this, I think you literally have Taysom Hill and like nobody. I'm not drafting Tim Tebow. That will never happen. Okay, running back, maybe J.D. McKissic's a little bit interesting given the fact that this is best ball. I mean, actually, no, Latavius Murray's way better. Under receiver, Dwayne Eskridge. Maybe we take Eskridge just given the fact that he's going to be on one of the best offenses in the NFL. He's probably going to be an every down player given his speed, and it is best ball, so we're just looking to capture those spike weeks rather than having him actually as a player that we can try to predict on a week-to-week basis. With Tutu Atwell's right there. Let me look up, see who I have higher in my Patreon rookie rankings real quick. Okay, actually, let's not pull that up. Let's just go off gut. Okay, but it looks like this is probably going to be my last pick of the live stream. Then we'll let it go until we get to 4 o'clock. We'll turn this over to a slow draft. But like I said, guys, thank you all so much for coming out, hanging out with me through this entire stream. Now, Jaden says, can you do a league for 2 points per reception for a tight end position? We actually did that with the Flock Patreon League earlier this offseason. So, yeah, definitely you can go through and find that on the channel. Maybe we go tight end here, actually. Tight end could be intriguing with Gronk. No, I just think that it's probably better to lock in that rookie, given the fact that you're looking at Dwayne Eskridge as someone that's going to be an every down player, given his speed, and also he's attached to that offense. So let's just get that for the next 3 years. And I know, okay, Rob Down said Tutu is an Atwell. I mean, Tutu Atwell is a gadget guy. Man, you can make that argument with either Dwayne Eskridge or Tutu Atwell, to be completely honest, which is why in a regular fantasy league, I'm probably avoiding them. But if we were talking about best ball here, I mean, they are a lot more appealing in a Dynasty best ball league. Okay, so here's the entire draft board for everybody to see it. Let me turn off my video display capture. That way, anybody who wants to take a screenshot of this draft, they can. Like I said, guys, let's go through, click on every team real quick so you can see how it turned out, because we had some crazy trades in this Flock Patreon League. So like I said, guys, I mean, you can just pause this anytime if you want to see how the teams actually turned out to be. Okay, but it looks like this is going to be the last pick of the live stream before we pause the draft, turn it over to a slow draft. But thank you, my guys, for coming out. Of course, if you want to join the next Dynasty startup that we will have, that will be live streamed on the channel, that I will give you my live reactions to, that will all be on Patreon, but I am sure everybody knows that by now. And yeah, that should be it. I will see y'all with the video tomorrow, and have a great day, my dudes.